Chapter 1290. When Tan Xiao and Gu Yin came out of the heavenly abode artifact, Tan Xiao brought the two mid-stage perfected golden immortals into the artifact. Looking at their indifferent expressions, Tan Xiao slowly took out a cigarette, lit it, and took a puff. Then he said, "Do you two think that I'm inferior to an ant just because I'm only an ordinary immortal? I dare not." Their lives were in Tan Xiao's hands, so they still shook their heads despite having such thoughts in their hearts. "I don't like subordinates who only agree on the surface but oppose on the inside," said Tan Xiao lightly. "What's more, I don't like subordinates who speak insincere. You just need to answer me truthfully, don't you?" "Understood." Zenith Venerable and Seaway Monarch answered at the same time. Tan Xiao nodded with satisfaction and said, "Then, you two answer my question. How long has it taken you to embark on the path of cultivation until now?" 6,432 years, answered Zenith Venerable. 5,320 years, answered Seaway Monarch. Tan Xiao asked again, "With your memories, do you still remember how long it took for you to become an immortal from the time you set foot on the path of cultivation? Tell me." Zenith Venerable and Seaway Monarch exchanged glances. They faintly realized what Tan Xiao wanted to say and immediately sneered inwardly. They were once peerless geniuses of their respective immortal domains, and their cultivation speed was countless times faster than others. "This subordinate took 423 years, answered Zenith Venerable. "This subordinate took 399 years, answered Seaway Monarch. "It's a so-so. Not bad." Tan Xiao nodded. "But do you know how long it has been since I embarked on the path of cultivation?" Both shook their heads at the same time. "I'm not even 30 years old yet," said Tan Xiao indifferently. "What?" Disbelief was written all over their faces as they exclaimed at the same time. They were all Zenith Heaven Golden Immortals, and their willpower was already very heaven-defying, but they were still frightened by Tan Xiao's words. This was because they had never heard of anyone who could cultivate from immortal to the immortal realm in less than 30 years. Even the supreme martial artists of the past had not been able to do it. Even those who became immortals within 100 years could only be counted on one hand, right? Tan Xiao said indifferently, "You don't need to be shocked, and you don't need to suspect that I have a noble bloodline. I'm just an ordinary person. It hasn't even been 30 years since I was born, and I've already become an immortal. Now, you should understand what I want to say, right?" Zenith Venerable and Seaway Monarch glanced at each other again. Although they still found it hard to believe, their attitudes had greatly changed. With a hint of respect, they said, "We understand. Master, your aptitude is heaven-defying, more terrifying than any peerless genius in the past. In time, I believe Master will become even stronger and cultivate even faster." "It's good that you understand," Tan Xiao said with a faint smile. "So, the reason why I'm talking to you today is to tell you that if you do your best to serve me, I'll return your freedom to you as long as you serve me for 5,000 years. 5,000 years. Both of them smiled bitterly at the same time. They were already very old now, so who could guarantee that they could live for another 5,000 years? Tan Xiao said lightly, "I'll provide you with a lot of cultivation resources during these 5,000 years. Similarly, I won't restrict your freedom too much. Although your lives are under my control, I'll give you the respect you deserve during these 5,000 years. I can even give you a very high status, even if you become the imperial protector of my Great Tang Empire." The Great Tang Empire? Both of them looked confused at the same time. Tan Xiao said lightly, "To tell you the truth, I've just led my people to the immortal world using a special method. The population of the entire Great Tang Empire is very small, only about 200,000 people so far." "We agree." Both of them agreed, but they smiled bitterly inwardly. An empire with more than 200,000 people was something they really couldn't complain about. Even if it was an ordinary human country, wouldn't it have a population of more than 10 million people? Just 200,000 people, yet they still dared to call it an empire? Suddenly, both of them realized a problem. Since the master in front of them had just arrived in the immortal world, where did he get so much wealth? It must be noted that he had bought 3 perfected golden immortal gladiators at once this time. Can I ask you a question, Master? Seaway Monarch hesitated for a moment and asked carefully. Ask away. Tan Xiu said. Do you have a lot of immortal stones or immortal crystals in your original pocket world? Crystal essences? Otherwise, where did you get so much wealth to buy us out of the convict arena? What kind of place is the convict arena? Tan Xiu said with a faint smile. It's a place where guests can gamble. If I can buy you out of the convict arena, why can't I win a lot of wealth in the convict arena? Hiss! Both of them gasped and the shock in their hearts reached an unimaginable level. Even if they were perfected golden immortals, it would be very difficult for them to win hundreds of millions of immortal crystals from the convict arena. After all, winning every time required not only terrifying vision but also heaven-defying luck. Tan Xiu took out 2 million crystal essences from his interspatial ring and handed them over to them, saying, I'll give you a mission. Kill an enemy who has just become a perfected golden immortal. Remember, don't expose your identity and immediately withdraw after you kill him. Who's the enemy? Asked Seaway Monarch. He's Hongwu Yelong, the patriarch of the Yelong clan, said Tan Xiu. He lives in this immortal domain in Hessen Castle. We'll definitely complete the mission, said Seaway Monarch respectfully. Remember, you'll only have a short time to act. Tan Xiu said, since Hongwu Yelong knows 9 Netherswordmeister, you must have heard his name. He's in Hessen Castle and has a good friendship with Hongwu Yelong. That's why you must act like a thunderbolt and retreat before 9 Netherswordmeister gets the news. Understood. The two respectfully nodded and were sent out of the heavenly abode artifact by Tan Xiu. Tan Xiu took a deep breath. When he came out of the heavenly abode artifact, he saw Guyan, quietly sipping tea, and Star Tears standing quietly in the room with an indifferent expression. Come with me. Tan Xiu opened the heavenly abode artifact and took Star Tears inside. Star Tears quietly observed Tan Xiu and calmly asked, What's your order, Master? Tan Xiu took out 2 million crystal essences and put them into an interspatial ring. He then threw them to her and said, You don't need to call me Master from now on. My name is Great Tang Heavenly Emperor, but you can call me Your Majesty. Great Tang Heavenly Emperor? Your Majesty? Star Tears looked a bit confused and slowly nodded. I'm the Emperor of the Great Tang Empire, said Tan Xiu. Although my empire has no territory and only has a population of about 200,000 people, you'll be the Great Tang Empire's protector from now on. But from now on, you are the Great Tang Empire's protector of the earth, and I will provide you with all the cultivation resources you need. You only need to promise me 3 things. Speak. Star Tears nodded slightly. The first thing is that you must change your appearance from now on and never meet people with this face, said Tan Xiu. If you want to know the reason, I can tell you that I'm too weak to protect my subordinates at the perfected golden immortal stage. You've become a deathmatch gladiator in the convict arena, so you must have a very powerful enemy. I don't want to be implicated because of you. I understand. Star Tears nodded silently. Her facial muscles twitched and she quickly changed her appearance. Even those who were very close to her wouldn't be able to recognize her true identity now. The second thing is that you must obey my orders unconditionally from now on, said Tan Xiu again. I won't deliberately send you to your death, and I'll also give you very loose freedom and respect. But you must temporarily put aside all your past and serve me wholeheartedly. Do I have to restrain myself if I encounter my enemy? Asked Star Tears. That's right. Even if you encounter your enemy, you must restrain yourself and not reveal even the slightest trace, said Tan Xiu. Of course, you can tell me and I'll act according to the situation. If you can deal with the enemy and won't bring me any trouble, I don't mind letting you do it. I'll even send someone to help you. Star Tears' eyes lit up and asked in a deep voice, Are you serious? Replied Tan Xiu firmly. I promise you. Star Tears nodded heavily. I haven't thought about the third thing yet, said Tan Xiu with satisfaction. I'll tell you when I've thought about it. You can cultivate in this heavenly abode artifact for the time being. If you have nothing to do, you can help me train the Great Tang Empire's warriors in this artifact. All right. Star Tears nodded. Tan Xiu hesitated for a moment. He looked at the glimmer of vitality in Star Tier's eyes and slowly said, "Since we're on the same side in the future, I, Tan Xiao, will return your freedom once I become a powerhouse on par with you. I'll respect your decision whether you want to stay or leave when the time comes." Star Tier's expression drastically changed and disbelief filled her eyes. She quickly retreated a few steps and asked with a trembling voice, What did you say your name was?" "Great Tang Heavenly Emperor, Tan Xiao," said Tan Xiao lightly. Star Tears stared at Tan Xiao's face for a long time. Then she shook her head and said, "No, you're not him. I can tell that your appearance hasn't changed at all. But why do I sense a familiar aura on you?" "I may have guessed who you're talking about," said Tan Xiao calmly. "I bought a Catwoman in the convict arena some time ago, and she also said that I have a familiar aura on me." Star Tears clenched her fists and asked in a deep voice, "Is she a chinchilla?" "That's right." Tan Xiao nodded. "Where is she?" asked Star Tears hurriedly. Can I see her now?" Tan Xiao quickly sent a voice transmission to Catwoman. After explaining something to her, he called her over and lightly said, "Catwoman, you should know her, right? The 3rd chapter is over. Please vote for me." Chapter 1291. Catgirl looked at Star Tears and immediately looked pleasantly surprised. She hurriedly called out, "Aunt Blackface? No. Are you Auntie Star Tears?" Star Tears was greatly shocked. She reached out to hug Catgirl and excitedly said, "It's really you, kitty? You're still alive?" Suppressing her excitement, Catgirl nodded repeatedly and said, "I'm still alive, Auntie Star Tears. It's great to see you again." Star Tears patted Catgirl's back. Suddenly, she stepped back and asked in a deep voice, "Catgirl, you're most familiar with his aura. Who is this man in front of us?" Catgirl quickly calmed down and recalled Tan Xiao's order. Then she said, "He's Great Tang Heavenly Emperor, the Emperor of the Great Tang Empire and also my savior, Auntie Star Tears. I felt that his aura was very familiar at first, but he's not." Star Tears looked disappointed and bitterly said, "That's right. He's not. It would be great if he were still alive." Tan Xiao listened to the two women's words and suppressed the excitement in his heart. Then he lightly said, "I don't care who you're talking about, but you must remember that you're the people of my Great Tang Empire from now on. I've saved you, so you must draw a line with your past for now." "Understood." Catgirl and Star Tears nodded at the same time. After coming out of the Heavenly Abode artifact, Tan Xiao secretly heaved a sigh of relief. He handed an interspatial ring to Gu Yenr and said, "I'll only keep 1,000,000 crystal essences, 1,000,000 immortal crystals, and 1,000,000 immortal stones. As for the rest of the crystal essences, immortal crystals, and immortal stones, give them all to Xiao Shui. Also, the battle between 9 Nether Swordmeister and Venerable Netherworld is about to begin. After all the members come back, make them practice battle formations diligently. The individual strength of the 4 major legions of our Great Tang Empire is too weak. Only by arranging battle formations can we enhance our combat effectiveness." "I'll arrange it." Gu Yenr nodded. Tan Xiao let out a faint smile. He was very confident in Gu Yenr's ability. Shortly after, Tan Xiao arrived at the Ink Pot residence, where 9 Nether Swordmeister was temporarily staying. However, as soon as he arrived at the door, he was stopped by the guards outside. This kind of obstruction was not targeted at Tan Xiao, because there were hundreds of visitors outside the mansion, and all of them were blocked outside. "My Sword Saint won't be seeing any outsiders recently. If you don't have anything important, please leave," the guard at the Golden Celestial stage said coldly as he glanced at Tan Xiao and Battle Peng. "Go inform 9 Nether Swordmeister that the Great Tang Heavenly Emperor is visiting. He'll meet me," Tan Xiao said with a faint smile. A look of surprise flashed across the Golden Immortal Guard's eyes. The guards had already been informed that there were more than a dozen visitors, and they could enter without notifying them. One of them was the Great Tang Heavenly Emperor. Instantly, the Golden Immortal Guard showed a bit of respect and said, "Ah, so you're Great Tang Heavenly Emperor. I didn't know you just now, so I hope you won't take offense. My Swordmeister told me that you can go directly to see him if you come." Tan Xiu smiled faintly and walked into the mansion with Battle Peng amidst the surprised expressions of the people around. Under the guidance of the attendants inside, Tan Xiu quickly saw 9 Nether Swordmeister. Moreover, Tan Xiu didn't see only 9 Nether Swordmeister, but also a burly man with blonde hair. He had an aquiline nose, sword-like eyebrows, and a big mouth. He looked a bit ugly, but he exuded an imposing aura. What surprised Tan Xiu the most was that although this man was sitting face to face with 9 Nether Swordmeister, he was emanating a murderous aura. Did I come at the wrong time? Tan Xiu sized up the man a few times. Although he said so, he went straight to the chair next to the 2 men and sat down. He then took out a cigarette and lit it. If it were before, Tan Xiu wouldn't have done this. After all, his strength was still too weak. But with a great expert like Star Tears in his heavenly abode artifact, he didn't need to be too afraid. 9 Nether Swordmeister wore a strange expression and coughed twice. Then, he lightly smiled and said, "You really came at the wrong time, great Tang Lil Bro. Do you see this guy coming to look for trouble with me? Maybe we'll have to kill each other later." Tan Xiu's expression shifted and he immediately chuckled. "If my guess is correct, you're venerable Netherworld, aren't you? A perfected golden immortal whose cultivation is probably a level higher than yours, Brother 9 Nether." Venerable Netherworld indifferently glanced at Tan Xiu and coldly snorted. Where the hell did you come from? Do you think a puny ant like you has the right to sit here?" With that said, an aura burst out of his body and pressed down on Tan Xiu. Battle Peng's expression slightly changed and he instantly blocked in front of Tan Xiu. He let out a muffled groan and his body shook a few times. A wisp of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth, but he still persisted. "What a loyal dog. You're actually not afraid of death." Venerable Netherworld sneered. Tan Xiu shook his head and sighed. "It seems the immortal world is really cruel. Only the strong are respected." In the next moment, Star Tears suddenly appeared next to Tan Xiu out of the blue. A chilling light burst out from her eyes and monstrous killing intent was instantly released. She shielded Battle Peng and Tan Xiu behind her and coldly glared at Venerable Netherworld. The perfected golden immortal? Venerable Netherworld's expression changed and dread could be seen in his eyes. He could sense the surging aura coming from Star Tears, and it was no weaker than his own. "No wonder you're so arrogant. It turns out you have a perfected golden immortal guarding you." Upon seeing that Venerable Netherworld retracted his aura, Tan Xiu immediately waved to Star Tears, motioning her to move to the side. Then he lightly smiled and said, "There's a saying in the world I used to live in, don't do porcelain work if you don't have a diamond. It means that you can't be arrogant if you don't have the capital to protect yourself." A glint flashed in 9 Nether Swordmeister's eyes. He didn't expect that Tan Xiu would have a perfected golden immortal at his side. Now, he was even more curious about Tan Xiu's identity. "How should I address you, fellow immortal?" 9 Nether Swordmeister looked at Star Tears and asked. Star Tears just glanced at him indifferently and didn't bother to answer him. He just looked at his nose and his nose looked at his heart, remaining silent. "She's the gladiator I just bought from the convict arena, Brother 9 Nether." Tan Xiu lightly smiled. "You don't need to care about her identity. But this venerable Netherworld seems to be your enemy, no? How come you're sitting together? Or do you want me to help you solve the enmity between yourselves?" "I can't wait to kill him and he can't wait to kill me." 9 Nether Swordmeister shook his head and smilingly said, "But we're still brothers who love each other on the surface, so it's not like we can't sit down. I feel ashamed to have a brother like you." Venerable Netherworld sneered. "Do you think I don't feel the same way?" 9 Nether Swordmeister angrily shouted. A strange expression appeared on Tan Xiu's face. He couldn't imagine that these two were brothers. The difference in appearance was too big. Shaking his head, Tan Xiu sighed and said, "It turns out that you're brothers. Alas, why the need to fight and kill each other since you're brothers? It's just like the saying that we're born from the same root, so why the rush to torture each other?" "What?" Both of them frowned at the same time, recalling Tan Xiu's words about us being born from the same root, so why the rush to torture each other? After just a quarter of an hour, the way they looked at Tan Xiu had changed a bit. I still have something to do. See you in the convict arena. Venerable Netherworld coldly got up and instantly disappeared. 9 Netherswordmeister looked at the place where Venerable Netherworld disappeared with a complicated expression in his eyes. He then shook his head and forced a smile. Great Tang Lilbro, I found that you're really different from others when it comes to looking at problems. I can't seem to match your state of mind. Tan Shio couldn't help laughing and said, You're a perfected golden immortal, Brother 9 Nether. You don't need to flatter me like that, do you? I'm not flattering you. I'm speaking from the bottom of my heart. 9 Netherswordmeister shook his head. Alright, let's not talk about these boring issues. Is there something you need from me this time? It's nothing important. I just want to play a game of chess with you, Brother 9 Nether. Tan Shio lightly smiled. Just a game of chess? 9 Netherswordmeister asked with a strange expression. Of course. Just a game of chess. Tan Shio nodded and smilingly said. 9 Netherswordmeister shook his head and couldn't help but laugh. He casually placed a chessboard on the small round table in front of him and lightly smiled. Great Tang Lilbro, you should know how to play fairy chess, right? I do. Tan Shio smiled and said, What I hate the most when I play this kind of chess is when my opponent gives up halfway, so I hope Brother 9 Nether will go all out. So, I hope that old Brother 9 Nether will give it your all. You can only go and do other things if you defeat me with your true abilities. 9 Netherswordmeister's expression shifted and he faintly felt that Tan Shio's words had a hidden meaning. However, he had nothing to do at the moment, so he nodded and said, Alright, let's begin then. Alright. Fairy chess was more or less the same as Go. The two of them frequently placed their pieces, causing the number of pieces on the chessboard to increase and the fight to become fiercer. Just as the two of them reached the most intense and critical moment, 9 Netherswordmeister's complexion suddenly changed, and he reached out to grab a streak of light. Save me, Brother 9 Nether. 9 Netherswordmeister suddenly got up and stared fixedly at Tan Shio, saying in a deep voice, Great Tang Lilbro, you're already in trouble now, Brother 9 Nether, so why bother poking your nose into other people's business? Tan Shio lightly smiled. Besides, I'm afraid it'll be too late even if you rush over now. It's better for us to finish this game in peace. 9 Netherswordmeister frowned and asked, You obviously spared him back then, Great Tang Lilbro. Why did you still? Tan Shio raised his hand to interrupt 9 Netherswordmeister and said, I spared his life back then for your sake, Brother 9 Nether. But he deserves to die now, so I naturally have a reason to kill him. Brother 9 Nether, this great Tang Heavenly Emperor always treats my brothers and friends with sincerity, but I'll never spare those who deserve to die. Great Tang Lilbro, he and I. 9 Netherswordmeister forced a smile. It's too late, said Tan Shio. 9 Netherswordmeister was silent for a long time and finally sighed. Even if it's too late, I still need to go there. I don't want to let my friend down. I'm sorry, Great Tang Lilbro. Chapter 1292. Tan Shio quietly watched 9 Netherswordmeister's back as he left. There was a bit of appreciation in his eyes, but it was more of a pity. Perhaps it was a freak accident or a coincidence, but Tan Shio decided not to meddle in 9 Netherswordmeister's muddy water again. Alright, let's get moving. Tan Shio stood up and let Star Tears return to the Heavenly Abode artifact. Then he left the Inkpot Mansion with Battle Pung. When he returned to the Stargazing Pavilion, he immediately issued an order. All members of the Great Tang Empire who were outside were to return immediately. 2 days later, all members of the Great Tang Empire returned, including Siwei Monarch and Zenith Venerable, who went to the Yelong clan to kill Hongwu. Except for Battle Peng and Gu Yenner who stayed outside, everyone else entered the Heavenly Abode artifact and disappeared from the Stargazing Pavilion. Tan Shio knew that 9 Netherswordmeister had already learned about his departure. 9 Netherswordmeister probably already knew that he was leaving with his men. It was even possible that 9 Netherswordmeister was hiding somewhere and watching them leave. Exalted Immortal Domain. When Tan Shio stepped out of the spatial teleportation array and looked around, a bit of killing intent flashed in his eyes. He didn't care about the immortal soldiers stationed here and quickly left with Gu Yen and Battle Pung. We seem to have gone the wrong way, master. After flying for half a day, Guyan looked around and said, "We didn't go the wrong way. I'm going to stroll around the exalted immortal domain. After all, this is a large and prosperous immortal domain. I don't know how long I'll have to wait to return here," Tan Xiu said lightly. "I hope I can find some good things here before I leave." A suspicious look flashed in Guyen's eyes and she asked with a voice transmission, "What do you mean, master?" Tan Xiu also replied with a voice transmission, "We just returned to the immortal world not long ago, yet we met Catwoman and Anti-Star Tears. This means that there are still many people who used to be close to them scattered all over the immortal world. They're probably in a precarious situation now, so we might as well waste some time on the road since we're in a hurry and try to find those who need our help." Gu Yenner hurriedly asked, "What happens after we find it?" Tan Xiu lightly said, "Unless it's someone close to us, even if we find some, we just need to help them in a seemingly convenient manner. We won't take them away, nor will we expose our identities." Gu Yenner asked, "Do your best and leave the rest to fate?" Tan Xiu nodded without a trace. In the following 3 months, Tan Xiu took Gu Yin and Battle Peng to every continent in the Great Firmament Immortal Domain. They visited all the prosperous cities, but aside from purchasing a large number of cultivation resources, they didn't find any acquaintances. Therefore, the trio once again set out on a journey, passing through one immortal domain after another. Along the way, they met some people from the Rosefinch Holy Sect, as well as some of his former subordinates. In short, Tan Xiu thoroughly found out about those who defected to the enemy and those who persecuted him after he was murdered. He even inquired about the current situation of the Rosefinch Holy Sect. It was miserable. The Vermilion Bird Holy Sect was in a miserable state right now. They were completely holed up in the land of the sect, relying on the 2 supreme being powerhouses of the Vermilion Bird Holy Sect and the protection of the sect's Great Protective Array. In addition, some of Tan Xiu's loyal subordinates joined the Rosefinch Holy Sect and fought side by side with the Rosefinch Holy Sect, while others hid in various parts of the immortal world, fighting their own battles. The Greenwood Immortal Domain. 4 snow-white cloud-piercing beasts were pulling a golden chariot, hurrying on with their journey. 2 figures were sitting cross-legged on the golden chariot, in a state of cultivation. Beside them was a burly man, holding a long spear, coldly observing the surroundings. They were Tan Xiu and Gu Yen, as well as Battle Peng, who was in charge of guarding. 80% of the Greenwood Immortal Domain's landmass was made up of lush and verdant mountains and forests. Aside from the small cities, there were only seas and lakes. The Greenwood Immortal Domain was inhabited by the forest elves, who advocated peace. Especially on this largest landmass, it was the headquarters of dozens of branches of the forest elves. Rumble, a terrifying aura erupted from the distance of the golden chariot. Tan Xiu and Gu Yen instantly opened their eyes and looked surprised as they glanced in that direction. Tan Xiu frowned and asked, "What happened? My eyesight can't see that far." "I can't see it either." Gu Yen shook her head. Battle Peng didn't speak, but there was a trace of confusion on his face, indicating that he didn't know what happened. Tan Xiu hesitated for a moment and said, "It's a fight that took place in our line of sight, yet we can sense its aura. That means it's at least a fight between perfected golden immortals. Let's go and have a look." Battle Peng slightly nodded and shouted to the 4 cloud-piercing beasts, "Speed up!" The 4 cloud-piercing beasts were all immortal beasts, each of which was comparable to an ordinary immortal and could be considered as powerful. Coupled with the fact that this golden chariot was an immortal artifact, it was very expensive. If it weren't for Tan Xiu finding a treasure in some immortal domain and selling it for immortal crystals, he wouldn't have been willing to buy it. A few minutes later, the scene of a fight appeared in the sights of the trio. Above the dense mountain forest, dozens of forest elves were being attacked by 4 strong men. The Dragon Clan. Tan Xiu and Gu Yen exchanged glances and looked confused. The forest elves and the Dragon Clan had always been on good terms. The Supremacy Stage powerhouse of the forest elves and the Dragon Clan's Supremacy Stage patriarch were best friends in the entire immortal world. It was truly a rare sight to encounter a fight between the forest elves and the dragon clan now. At the same time, the two sides also noticed the approaching Tan Shio's group. The four big men from the dragon clan immediately blasted away the dozens of forest elves and their bodies transformed. In the blink of an eye, they revealed their true forms, which were four giant dragons that were about 300 meters long and shimmering with silver light. Sendoya, hand over the luminous immortal mirror and we'll spare your lives. Else, we'll slaughter all of you even if there are outsiders present. One of the silver dragons spoke in human language with a monstrous killing aura. The forest elves were obviously in a state of being suppressed, and many of them had ghastly wounds on their bodies. Upon hearing the silver dragon's words, the tall and slender forest elf surrounded by dozens of people paced a few steps forward and coldly said, "The luminous immortal mirror is the guardian artifact of my blood elf clan. We won't give it to you even if you kill all my blood elf clan. Ao Seong, you're an elder of the dragon clan, yet you dare to rob my blood elf clan's guardian artifact? Do you really want to provoke a war between our two clans?" The silver dragon called Ao Seong sneered and said, "Your blood elf clan alone can't cause a war between our two clans. Further, the number of your blood elf clan is getting fewer and fewer. If my guess is correct, the number of your blood elf clan should be no more than 100 now, right? It's a complete waste to leave the luminous immortal mirror in your clan. You might as well give it to me and use it to please the violet elf imperial princess." Sendoya glared at Ao Seong with hatred and angrily said, "My blood elf clan used to have a large population and was the strongest branch of the entire forest elven clan apart from the imperial family. Did you forget that your dragon clan kept flattering us at that time? Bullying the weak and fearing the strong? Is this the nature of your dragon clan?" Ao Seong was infuriated by Sendoya's words. His huge head instantly aimed at Tan Shio's group and sternly shouted, "Let me give you a piece of advice. Don't meddle in other people's business. Else, you'll become a great enemy of my dragon clan." Tan Shio raised his brows and simply ignored Ao Seong. He looked at Sendoya and asked in a clear voice, "Did he just say that the remaining population of your blood elf clan is less than 100? Is that true?" Sendoya vigilantly looked at Tan Shio and said in a deep voice, "That's right. It's true that countless of our blood elf clan have died in battle. But as long as any one of us is still alive, we can lead our clan to rise again in the future." Tan Shio sighed. The blood elves are known as the war elves of the forest elven clan and were indeed the strongest branch of the forest elven clan. Who would have thought that your blood elf clan would fall into such a miserable situation in just a few tens of thousands of years? If my guess is correct, you should be being ostracized by the elves now, right? Sendoya's expression turned extremely unsightly. As the leader of the blood elf clan, she was naturally well aware of the current situation of her clan. It was very bad. Very bad indeed. She was even aware that Ao Seong and the other three bastards had come here to snatch the luminous immortal mirror, and the elven imperial family definitely knew about it. Yet, they didn't lend a helping hand and just turned a blind eye to it. Tan Shio let out a faint smile. He could see a lot of problems from Sendoya's expression. Hence, he quickly thought about it and said with a smile, "We're just passing by and don't feel like poking our nose into other people's business. But we don't mind lending a helping hand if our own people are in trouble. You're called Sendoya, right? Rather than living here sullenly, it's better for your blood elf clan to leave this place and find another place to settle down." Sendoya looked at Tan Shio indifferently and asked, "Who are you?" Tan Shio smiled and said, "I'm His Majesty of the Great Tang Empire. You can call me Great Tang Heavenly Emperor. If your blood elf clan is willing to leave with me, I can let you live in my Great Tang Empire." Sendoya pondered for a moment and shook her head. "The forest immortal domain is the most suitable place for us elves to live. Besides, do you think you can make us leave with you just because of a few words? Please leave. We don't need your help." Tan Shio couldn't help laughing. After calling Zenith Venerable and Seaway Monarch out of the Heavenly Abode artifact, he pointed at Ao Seong and the other three dragons and said lightly, "Make them scram. Otherwise, help me kill them." Ao Seong looked frightened and roared, "You're Great Tang Heavenly Emperor, right? Do you really want to poke your nose into other people's business? Chapter 1293. Tan Xiao could hear the threat in Ao Xiang's words, but he didn't care and said with a faint smile, I don't like killing, but I can't help but meddle when I see people bullying the weak. Of course, I won't stop you if you leave now. Ao Xiang glared at Tan Xiao and shouted, Let's go. After saying that, they looked coldly at Sandoya again before flying into the distance. Tan Xiao smiled slightly and let Zenith Venerable and Seaway Monarch return to the Heavenly Abode artifact. Then he looked at Sandoya and said, Remember my name and the empire I own. If you really can't stay here anymore in the future, come to the Great Tang Empire and find me. I can provide you with a place to stay. After saying that, he didn't give Sandoya any time to speak and ordered the 4 cloud-piercer beasts to continue their journey. Sandoya and the dozens of blood elves watched Tan Xiao's trio leave with complicated expressions. In fact, they didn't want to leave, but they still had a glimmer of hope that their race could return to its peak here. Chief, I think, a male blood elf wearing a red cloak and red armor said hesitantly. Sandoya raised her hand to interrupt him and said indifferently, I know what you want to say, but this is our home. We can't leave here unless we have no other choice. Besides, we don't know where the Great Tang Empire is or who the Great Tang Heavenly Emperor is. So, we can't promise him. Immortal world. It was a world of ice and snow. Snowflakes fluttered in the sky, and glaciers stood tall. The ground here was covered with a thick layer of ice, and only a few plants suitable for this environment added a bit of vitality to this world of ice and snow. Kacha, above the night sky, a bolt of lightning appeared out of thin air. Amidst the lightning, a disheveled figure fell from the crack in space and smashed heavily onto the hard ice. She was Han Qingwu. She had just ascended from Earth to the immortal world and used her spatial ability during the process of ascension. At this moment, she was drenched in blood, and her white dress was blood-stained and tattered. Cough cough, after a long while. Only then did Han Qingwu climb up from the layer of ice with great difficulty. Her body trembled slightly as she looked around. In the end, a sad smile appeared on her face that had dozens of bloody scars. I'm back. A little later than him, right? Han Qingwu gently raised her arms, and as mist appeared around her, the blood on her body was washed clean in a short moment. As her tattered dress exploded, she instantly put on a white battle robe. Suddenly, her expression changed slightly and a vigilant look appeared in her eyes. She sensed a powerful aura rapidly approaching from the distant horizon. Without any hesitation, she moved as fast as lightning and rushed towards a nearby iceberg. In the blink of an eye, her figure merged into the iceberg. Phew! The raging wind whistled, and a blue figure appeared out of thin air where Han Qingwu was. His body exuded a chilling aura as his sharp eyes slowly scanned the surroundings. He then frowned and murmured, There was clearly a breath of life. How did it disappear so quickly? Could it be that a great divine ability came here? A few minutes later, he secretly shook his head and then bolted toward the distance. 10 days later, a deep hole was blasted open on the iceberg. Han Qingwu, who had no injuries on her body, turned into a stream of light and shot toward the distance. She wanted to find him. She didn't even need to worry about not being able to find him. Because of her understanding of Luo Yunyang, Han Qingwu clearly understood that no matter where he went, he would cause a rain of blood and foul wind. Furthermore, he came back for revenge this time, so she could find his traces as long as she paid attention to the major events in the immortal world. Han Qingwu didn't want to disturb him, but she wanted to watch him from afar. Just watching him was enough. Immortal world, Immortal Lyceum. The Immortal Lyceum's sphere of influence was very wide, and the vast immortal domain was under the control of Apotheosis Immortal Bella. In the past 100 years, the entire Immortal Lyceum's territory had become particularly chaotic. It was because Apotheosis Bella participated in the war in the immortal world hundreds of years ago and was severely injured. In the endless void, 4 endless paths extended into the void, and at the intersection of the 4 paths was a piece of land in the celestial realm. The land area was not very large, but it was still millions of kilometers wide. On this piece of land, There were many richly ornamented buildings. Whoosh! A figure flickered lightning fast from the southwest road and quickly landed outside the vortex portal connected to the land. He was clad in a silver battle robe and silver boots. His silver hair draped over his shoulders, and he exuded the aura of a perfected golden immortal. Greetings, Apotheon Mu. Dozens of immortal soldiers guarding outside the vortex portal saluted the newcomer. Apotheon Mu nodded slowly. After entering the vortex portal, he stepped on the red clouds floating in the sky and came to the square outside the towering palace in the middle. A valiant female immortal floated over and asked in a deep voice, "How's Apotheosis Bella's injury?" "She's seriously injured. If we can't find the holy dragon fruit within 100 years, I'm afraid," said the female immortal. "I want to see her." Apotheon Mu frowned deeply. The female immortal hesitated. "Venerable immortal told me that if there's no, come in." An ethereal voice came from the palace. Apotheon Mu gently nodded to the female immortal and then instantly entered the palace. When his figure appeared, he was already inside the palace. He looked up at the pale-faced Apotheosis Bella sitting cross-legged on the Nine Dragons' throne. He forced a smile and said, "Why did you do this, venerable immortal?" Apotheosis Bella had a stunning face and looked like she was in her 30s. Her skin was like ice and bones were like jade, and her beauty was soul-stirring. Her slender white fingers stroked the hair on her temples as she calmly said, "He once said that the great Tao is from my heart. My Tao is the Tao of love, and my heart has become the heart of love. He was ruthless to me, but I can't be ruthless to him. Even if I die, I want to crush the demon in my heart." Venerable immortal, some things can't be forced. Apotheon Mu sighed. Master's soul has already flown away. You won't get any good results even if you persist. Why don't you just let it go? Fierce killing intent burst out of Apotheosis Bella's eyes and she shouted with a bit of bitterness, "Let it go? Can I let it go? He might have died, but his worries are still there. Those treacherous bastards haven't died yet, so how can I let it go?" Apotheon Mu was silent for a moment and slowly said, "Junior brother Sirius is dead. I just received the news that he died in the hands of Venerable Baijan, a subordinate of Great Emperor Danqing." Apotheosis Bella was silent for a long time and then said with a bit hoarse voice, "Sirius is a proud and aloof person, so he didn't want to stay in the Rosefinch holy sect. He has killed countless of Great Emperor Danqing's men in the past 700 to 800 years and has long been regarded as a thorn in their eyes by Great Emperor Danqing and his people. I've long expected that he would be killed. Venerable immortal, you've also slaughtered countless powerful enemies over the years, so I'm afraid they have long regarded you as a thorn in their eyes," said Apotheon Mu. "You may have broken through to the supremacy stage, but you're still seriously injured. In case, no need to worry." Apotheosis Bella shook her head and said, "The array here was arranged by your master. Unless Great Emperor Danqing and Zither Demon Jiuyao come together, they won't be able to break the immortal array here. But you often come here from the misty spring ocean, so it's very easy for them to spy on you. The reason I came here is because I need the luminous nacre fan in your hand," said Apotheon Mu. Apotheosis Bella's complexion changed and she shouted in a deep voice, "I know what you want the luminous nacre fan for, but I'll never give it to you and I'll never allow you to take risks. The four of them were suppressed at the foot of the heavenly mountain to attract you to rescue them. With your strength, going there is no different from walking right into a trap." "I must go," Apotheon Mu said in a deep voice. "They are my martial brothers and the last disciples of Master in this world. Even if I die there, I'm willing to do so as long as I can rescue the four of them." Apotheosis Bella shook her head. "I can feel more at ease if you break through to the supremacy stage. After all, even if you can't save them, you still have some assurance to escape. But you're only a perfected golden immortal now, so going there is no different from courting death. Apotheon Mu, listen to my advice. Go back to the misty spring ocean and focus all your attention on cultivation. They won't be able to break the protective array of the Rosefinch Holy Sect within 1,000 years, let alone kill all the people of the Rosefinch Holy Sect. Only when you break through to the supremacy stage will you be the best help to them. It's impossible to break through to the supremacy stage within 1,000 years. Apotheon Mu shook his head. Venerable, I've made up my mind. I'll go to the convict arena to buy 10 perfected golden immortal gladiators and let them follow me to rescue them. If I succeed, I'll have the face to see Master. Apotheosis Bella stared at Apotheon Mu. Seeing his firm expression, she finally waved her long sleeves and threw the luminous nacre fan to him. Then, she helplessly said, I'm seriously injured now and can't help you. But it's best if you can wait. I'll take you there myself when I'm fully healed. Thank you, venerable immortal. Apotheon Mu bowed and then turned around to walk outside. When he was about to reach the gate, he suddenly stopped and turned to look at Apotheosis Bella, saying, I'll go back to the misty spring ocean later and then immediately help you find the holy dragon fruit. After I find it, I'll immediately go to the heavenly mountain. It's your freedom to do whatever you want, said Apotheosis Bella. But I hope you don't easily take risks no matter what you do. There are many people in the vast immortal world who need your protection. I know. Apotheon Mu turned around and flew out of the palace gate. On the 9 dragons' throne, a bitter look appeared in Apotheosis Bella's eyes as she muttered to herself, You heartless man. You can just walk away, but you left so many debts behind. Chapter 1294. Hoary Head Galaxy. When Tan Xiao, Gu Yin, and Battle Peng walked out of the teleportation array, they saw a world shrouded in clouds and mist that seemed to have no end. This was the misty spring ocean, a place where even perfected golden immortals couldn't see far. Dozens of immortals in black battle robes and holding immortal swords cast their gazes over. I want to see Apotheon Mu. Tan Xiao came to the front of the dozens of immortals and spoke indifferently. The burly golden immortal leader furrowed his brows and coldly said, Who are you, mister? Do you think you can directly call out the name of our overlord? If I'm not qualified to call his name, then I'm afraid no one in the entire immortal world is qualified to do so, Tan Xiao said lightly. Send a message to Apotheon Mu and tell him that an old friend came to visit and wants to occupy his misty spring ocean as his territory. Whoosh! In an instant, the dozens of immortal soldiers, including the burly man, raised their immortal swords and stared at Tan Xiao with hostility. Think about it clearly. You'll be severely punished if you offend me, said Tan Xiao. Also, you won't lose anything if you do as I say. Maybe you can even get a huge reward. The burly man coldly stared at Tan Xiao for a long time and finally shifted his gaze to Gu Yin and Battle Peng. He could clearly feel that their auras were very powerful, at least much stronger than his. Wait a minute. The burly man pondered for a moment and finally sent out a message token. At the edge of the Hoary Head Galaxy, a battle was going on. A total of 8 perfected golden immortals were besieging Apotheon Mu. If it wasn't for the luminous nacre fan in Apotheon Mu's hand that unleashed a terrifying killing move, he would have been killed by the joint attacks of these 8 perfected golden immortals. Even if he could protect himself, he was still wounded all over at the moment and was in imminent danger. Suddenly, his complexion slightly changed. As the luminous nacre fan erupted with its strongest attack, a stream of light instantly exploded 10,000 meters away from him and a line of golden words appeared in his vision. Lord Apotheon Mu, someone claimed to be your old friend and said that this is your territory. Outside the teleportation array. An old friend? Possession? Apotheon Mu's heart was filled with bitterness. The crisis in front of him had left him with no time to spare, and now a powerful enemy had come to his mist source island. It was really hateful. Looking at the 8 perfected golden immortals pouncing on him again, he gritted his teeth and roared, Come on! All of you! Even if I die, I will drag you down with me. His voice fell. He took out a communication talisman and quickly disappeared into the distant horizon. Mist Source Island, outside the teleportation array. The burly man's expression changed. When he caught the stream of light in his hand, he immediately read the information contained within. After reading it, he looked at Tan Xiao's group and said, Esteemed Apotheon Mu has sent a message saying that he has left the immortal mark. Please go see him in person, Tan Xiu glanced at the immortal mark that appeared after the messaging talisman exploded and immediately asked in a deep voice, "How long will it take to get from here to where Apotheon Mu is?" "Even if a golden immortal rushes at full speed, it will still take 2 hours." The burly man sneered. Tan Xiu nodded and summoned Seaway Monarch from the Heavenly Abode artifact. Then, he indifferently said, "Lead the way to the place where the immortal mark is located." "Understood." Seaway Monarch complied and instantly swept up Tan Xiu's group of 3 and flew toward the place marked by the immortal mark. His speed was very fast and he appeared thousands of miles away in just a blink of an eye. So fast? The burly man's complexion greatly changed and his face was full of shock. He could tell that the big man who was summoned was at least a perfected golden immortal. At the edge of Mist Source Island, the Apotheon Mu was fighting in a frenzied counterattack in a suicidal manner. Therefore, even though the 8 perfected golden immortals exerted all their means, they still didn't want to perish together. They defended and attacked at the same time, trying to exhaust Apotheon Mu to death. "Apotheon Mu, we are monitoring the immortal Lyceum. I didn't expect to find your trace. My lord has ordered us to kill you once we find your trace. Therefore, you must die today and we can get the reward of our lord. If you're willing to commit suicide, we can assure you that we'll leave your remnant soul behind so that you'll have a chance to reincarnate. Else, your soul will surely fly away and scatter," said an old man in a yellow robe with red hair with a playful smile on his face. "My master once said that as long as it's an enemy, we must tear the enemy's flesh and blood and dye their robes red even if we perish together," said Apotheon Mu coldly. "Cut the crap. I have the luminous Nacre fan, so if you want to kill me, some of you must accompany me to perish together. It's worth it to drag several of Zither Demon Juyao's subordinates to die with me." The smile on the yellow-robed old man's face faded and he coldly said, "We'll fulfill your wish since you want your soul to perish. Let's see how you're going to drag us to die with you after we exhaust your immortal force and let you bleed dry." Apotheon Mu understood what the other party meant. He wouldn't be able to drag them to die with him if he followed their plan, and it would be very difficult to inflict heavy damage on them. However, he was unwilling. It was because he had yet to rescue his 4 martial brothers from the heavenly mountain and find the holy dragon fruit for Apotheosis Bella. In fact, he hadn't even seen the souls of those treacherous bastards dissipate. Hundreds of thousands of miles away, Seaway Monarch stopped in midair and looked at the direction where Apotheon Mu's group of 9 were fighting. Then, he said, "I can sense perfected golden immortals fighting ahead, Master. They should be early-stage perfected golden immortals, but some of them have extremely powerful immortal artifacts. I'm afraid I'll have to be very cautious if I encounter them." Tan Xiu's expression changed and he asked in a deep voice, "How many perfected golden immortals do they have?" "There are a total of 9 people on both sides," answered Seaway Monarch. Tan Xiu took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "Hurry over there immediately, but don't act rashly. Just follow my orders." Seaway Monarch hesitated for a moment before he flew over with the 3 of them. "Who are you?" Just as the 4 approached, the yellow-robed old man's expression suddenly changed and he yelled, "We are the 8 generals under Zither Demon Jiuyao. If you have nothing else to do, then leave immediately." At this moment, Tan Xiu could clearly see the fighting scene. He watched the 8 perfected golden immortals besieging Apotheon Mu, who was already in imminent danger. Killing intent burst out of his eyes. However, he was well aware of his own strength. Unless he could break through to the profound immortal stage, there was no way he could fight perfected golden immortals. "Come out." Tan Xiu grinned and 22 immortals instantly appeared around him. Among these 22 people, there were 20 late-stage golden immortals, as well as 2 perfected golden immortals, Star Tears and Zenith Venerable. Tan Xiu took a deep breath and said in a heavy tone, "Zither Demon Jiuyao is a notorious bastard, and I'm afraid his 8 generals aren't good people either. I didn't intend to poke my nose into other people's business, but so many of them are bullying one person. Kill them." More than 20 people exchanged glances and looked hesitant. But when they saw the killing intent on Tan Xiu's face, they immediately forced a wry smile and rushed toward the 8 perfected golden immortals. Apotheon Mu was caught off guard by this sudden change. He originally thought that these people were also enemies, but he didn't expect that they would come to help him. 3 perfected golden immortals and 20 late-stage golden immortals. With his help, even if they couldn't kill all these 8 powerful enemies, they would still be able to make them pay a heavy price. Tan Xiu took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "I've heard of your name, Apotheon Mu. You're the disciple of Star Cultivation Great Emperor, but you've been wandering around for some reason. Later on, you occupied a territory somewhere and lived a reclusive life, am I right?" The pressure on Apotheon Mu was greatly reduced after receiving help. Upon hearing Tan Xiu's words, he fiercely attacked and replied in a deep voice, "You're right, mister. You're going to die today, and the territory you once occupied will probably become ownerless," said Tan Xiu aloud. "So, how about I save your life and give your territory to me? My territory will be yours in the future if you can help me kill them all," said Apotheon Mu in a deep voice. Tan Xiu slightly nodded. His figure flashed into the heavenly abode artifact and quickly found Tang'an. Then he said in a deep voice, "I have a mission for you." "Please speak," said Tang'an with a solemn expression. Tan Xiu took out an interspatial ring and handed it to her. "There's a dragon entrapping immortal array disc inside. It's a treasure I bought at a high price. Even a perfected golden immortal can't rush out of it for a while. There's a fierce battle going on outside, and most of them are perfected golden immortals. Therefore, I need you to hide in the dark and secretly arrange a dragon entrapping immortal array around them." Tang'an took the interspatial ring and firmly nodded. "No problem. I'll go out right away." Tan Xiu stopped her and solemnly said, "You must be very careful, Tang'an. Once you find something amiss, you must immediately give up the array. When you get outside, Battle Peng will wander around the battlefield and you must always hide under his protection. Also, the range of the array must be at least 100,000 kilometers away from the experts fighting." 100,000 kilometers? Tang'an couldn't help but exclaim. "That's why Battle Peng will protect you without leaving a trace and block the aftermath of the battle," said Tan Xiu. "Tell me, can you do it?" "I can," replied Tang'an through gritted teeth. Tan Xiu took a deep breath and took out a white immortal armor from the interspatial ring again. Then he said in a deep voice, "I'll give you a few minutes to refine it quickly. This is the Heavenly Silkworm Immortal Armor, which can allow you to withstand a full blow from a perfected golden immortal without dying. But remember, you can only withstand one attack from a perfected golden immortal. This Heavenly Silkworm Immortal Armor will be destroyed after that." Tang'an's eyes turned soft and she nodded silently. After refining the Heavenly Silkworm Immortal Armor into her battle robe, she silently disappeared from the Heavenly Abode artifact. Chapter 1295. When Tan Xiu re-emerged from the Heavenly Abode artifact, he saw that the yellow-robed old man was seriously injured by Seaway Monarch's blow and was sent flying while spurting blood. Seaway Monarch and Zenith Venerable were both mid-level perfected golden immortals, one level higher than the 8 perfected golden immortals. Most importantly, the two of them had extremely rich combat experience. After hundreds of battles in the convict arena, they had long been tempered into fighting machines. Although Star Tears was an early-level perfected golden immortal, her combat experience was also extremely rich. In addition, Tan Xiu had given her a supreme-grade immortal sword. Therefore, the strength she displayed was also difficult for opponents of the same level to resist. Even when fighting against 2 perfected golden immortals of the same level, she was still able to do it with ease. The 20 late-level golden immortals were also experts who had experienced countless battles in the convict arena. If one of them fought against an early-level perfected golden immortal, it might not be enough. However, the 20 of them joined forces and directly entangled 4 of the perfected golden immortals. These people are so strong. Apotheon Mu attacked one of the perfected golden immortals. As the immortal artifact Nacre Radiance fan continued to attack, the opponent was forced to retreat and his injuries worsened. At the same time, he was also able to spare a bit of energy to observe the fighting situation around him. His strength was very strong. He had once obtained Tan Xiu's true inheritance, so his means were very heaven-defying. If he encountered a perfected golden immortal of the same level, he could also suppress the opponent. However, he really couldn't figure out who these people were. The combat strength they possessed was simply ridiculously strong. Even the owner of a medium-sized immortal domain might not be able to have so many experts under his command, right? Take the Immortal Lyceum for example. The Immortal Lyceum was one of the large immortal domains in the entire immortal world. The total strength it possessed was probably not much stronger than these people who came to help. After an hour of fighting, the situation of the battle became more and more intense. The 8 perfected golden immortal generals under Zither Demon Jiuyao were all seriously injured. If they hadn't gathered together and joined forces to resist the besiegement of the crowd, perhaps some of them would have been killed. Of course, Zenith Venerable, Seaway Monarch, and Star Tears also suffered serious injuries, but they were much better off compared to the 8 generals under Zither Demon Jiuyao's command. As for the 20 late-stage golden immortal experts, 4 of them were heavily injured and had to retreat from the battle, while the rest were riddled with injuries as they attacked their opponents in a frenzy. Swoosh, Tang An's figure suddenly appeared next to Tan Xiu, but Battle Ping didn't return to Tan Xiu's side and directly joined the battle. Grand Master, it's done. Tan Xiu nodded with satisfaction and said, activate the Grand Array immediately. We must kill all 8 perfected golden immortals today. Let my master do it. Tang An handed a crystal marrow to Guyan and whispered, this crystal marrow is the core of this immortal array, master. As long as you activate it, you'll be able to understand the secrets of this feng shui formation, and you'll be able to control it easily. Guyan raised her hand to interrupt her and smilingly said, I know how to arrange the dragon imprisoning immortal array, so it's not difficult for me to control it. After saying that, she injected her immortal force into the crystal marrow and immediately, 8 golden runes flowed out like water and quickly spread in all directions. In just a few seconds, the entire space was shrouded by the 8 water-like golden runes, while golden lines gradually formed under the ground. An immortal array. The eyes of the 8 generals under Zither Demon Jiuyao were filled with shock at the same time. They were the ones who chose this battlefield, so they couldn't figure out why there was a feng shui immortal array here. They could easily see that this was the dragon imprisoning immortal array, an extremely powerful trapping array in the immortal world. Brothers, let's join forces to break this array. The yellow-robed old man, who was seriously injured and coughed up blood, roared and directly gave up the fierce attacks launched by the 4 perfected golden immortals and bombarded the golden lines on the ground. At the same time, the other 7 perfected golden immortals also gave up most of their defenses and fiercely attacked the direction the yellow-robed old man was attacking. Puff, puff, puff. The 3 perfected golden immortals were instantly killed by Seaway Monarch, Zenith Venerable, and Star Tears. Even the immortal weapons in their hands shattered the 3's immortal souls. Bang, 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 bang. Even if the other 5 perfected golden immortals were not killed in one blow, they still suffered serious injuries. 2 of them even directly lost their ability to fight. However, the dragon imprisoning immortal array, which could withstand the full blow of a perfected golden immortal, was directly broken by the simultaneous bombardment of 8 perfected golden immortals. The red-robed old man's eyes revealed a crazed look. As he swallowed a pill, his aura soared in just a few seconds. Under the threat of being pierced by Star Tears in the abdomen, he sprayed a pool of blood and fled to the distance in a panic. Another 3 perfected golden immortals were killed while fleeing in panic. One of them was even directly killed by the joint attack of 10 golden immortals. In the end, the pursuit of millions of kilometers only caused more serious injuries to the 2 fleeing perfected golden immortals, but failed to kill them completely. Master! Seaway Monarch wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and came to Tan Xiu with a wry smile. He then said, this subordinate is incompetent. I failed to capture all the enemies. Tan Xiu squinted his eyes and lightly said, the 2 fleeing perfected golden immortals should have taken some kind of secret medicine, right? Zither Demon Joyao only has two kinds of secret medicines that can temporarily enhance one's strength but cause great damage to the body. One is the bloodthirst pill, and the other is the Qinjin Valley venom. They just took pills, so I think it's the bloodthirst pill. Seaway Monarch and Zenith Venerable looked shocked because they were keenly aware that their master seemed to know Zither Demon Joyao very well. A strange light flashed in Star Tear's eyes and she suspiciously looked at Tan Xiu. Then, she turned to look at Apotheon Mu and asked with a hint of concern, "How are your injuries?" Apotheon Mu shook his head, but his eyes never left Tan Xiu. Tan Xiu took out a healing elixir from his interspatial ring and handed it to everyone. Then he said, "All of you, hurry up and heal yourselves. We'll be leaving this place soon." After saying that, he looked at Apotheon Mu and lightly said, "Don't forget your promise. The Misty Spring Ocean is my territory from now on. You can choose to submit to me, or you can bring your people to submit to my Great Tang Empire." The Great Tang Empire? Apotheon Mu had never heard of this name and quietly observed Tan Xiu. Although he vaguely felt a trace of familiarity, he still shook his head and said, "I'm sorry. I can hand over the Misty Spring Ocean to you, but I'll never submit to you. I, Reverend Mu, will remember this life-saving grace in my heart. However, I'm afraid I won't have the chance to repay you in the future." Tan Xiu frowned and said, "Your injuries aren't fatal. You'll recover in half a year at most after taking a healing elixir. Therefore, you'll have plenty of opportunities to repay me." Apotheon Mu was silent for more than 10 seconds. Finally, he shook his head with a bitter expression and said, "Since you know that I'm Star Cultivation Great Emperor's disciple, then you should know the grudge between me, Great Emperor Danqing, and Zither Demon Joyao. My 4 martial brothers are now imprisoned by Great Emperor Danqing in the Heavenly Mountain and are suffering cruel torture. Therefore I must rescue them. I also know that my chances of surviving this time are less than 1 in 10,000. Tan Xiu's pupils contracted and the killing intent in his heart skyrocketed. Then, he said in a deep voice, "You said that your 4 martial brothers are imprisoned by Great Emperor Danqing in the Heavenly Mountain?" Apotheon Mu nodded and replied, "Who are these 4? asked Tan Xiu. "I've heard of Star Cultivation Great Emperor's disciples. Each of them is an outstanding talent in the immortal world, and their strength is not to be underestimated. There's senior brother Wanlai, junior brother Soaring Chong, junior brother 9 Immortal Fingers, and junior sister Enchantress," said Apotheon Mu. Tan Xiu frowned and asked, "As far as I know, Star Cultivation Great Emperor doesn't only have disciples like you, right? You have so many martial brothers, so how come you're the only one going to rescue them alone? What about the others? Don't you know that you'll have a greater chance of winning if you join forces with them to rescue them?" Apotheon Mu clenched his fists and killing intent flashed in his eyes. Either die in battle or defect to the enemy. Tan Xiu originally intended to tell Apotheon Mu about his identity and then thoroughly understand the situation in the immortal world through him. But because of the rescue mission, he temporarily changed his mind and decided not to tell Apotheon Mu for the time being. But after hearing his words, Tan Xiu temporarily changed his mind and decided to give up. Through this battle, he understood that Apotheon Mu was loyal to him and would never betray him. Tan Xiu waved his hand and said in a deep voice, "Everyone, enter the Heavenly Abode artifact to recuperate. Don't come out without my summon." Understood. Everyone nodded and threw themselves into the Heavenly Abode artifact, including Gu Yen and Battle Peng. Tan Xiu looked at Apotheon Mu and calmly said, "Take me to the Misty Spring Ocean. We need to have a good talk, and I think you'll agree to pledge allegiance to me." Apotheon Mu couldn't help laughing. He knew that Tan Xiu was too confident. He had already thrown caution to the wind and would never choose to pledge allegiance to anyone. As long as he could rescue his fellow brothers and find the holy dragon fruit, he was willing to sacrifice himself. Misty Spring Ocean. Repose Cliff. This was Apotheon Mu's immortal mansion, the place where he cultivated in seclusion all year round. As the wide gate slowly opened, Apotheon Mu took Tan Xiu and stepped into the immortal mansion on the cliff. Following his order, 4 maids brought fine wine and delicacies, as well as immortal fruits and snacks. I haven't asked your name yet, mister? Apotheon Mu poured 2 glasses of wine, handed one to Tang Xiu, and then picked up the glass. Tang Xiu put down the wine glass and slowly walked to a portrait hanging on the wall. Looking at the familiar face, his appearance began to change and soon became exactly the same as the owner of the painting on the wall. Young Apotheon Mu, do you still remember the Golden Lotus secret scroll? Chapter 1296. Apotheon Mu looked at Tang Xiu's back and his expression suddenly changed. His slender body suddenly stood up and shouted, "Who the hell are you? How do you know about the Golden Lotus secret scroll?" Tang Xiu didn't rush to look back and didn't even answer Apotheon Mu's question. He continued, "The 6th chapter of the Golden Lotus secret scroll, weaving and intertwining threads, strength and roots. As the name suggests, the Golden Lotus is a combination of layers. To erupt its power, one needs to have a solid and stable root to form a lotus petal entanglement." "Answer my question," Apotheon Mu angrily shouted. "Haven't you guessed who I am yet?" Tang Xiu asked rhetorically. After saying that, he finally slowly turned around, his hands constantly forming seals. A golden lotus completely woven with golden threads bloomed with dazzling golden light. Apotheon Mu staggered back a few steps and looked incredulously at Tang Xiu's face. His heart fiercely twitched a few times. He was a dignified, perfected golden immortal, yet he raised his arm and desperately rubbed his eyes as if to make sure that he wasn't seeing things. Tang Xiu looked at his extremely shocked appearance and calmly said, "Blackwater City, Fairy-Seeking Cliff, Flying Despairs, and Misty Spring Ocean." Apotheon Mu was as though struck by lightning. He was shocked by the 4 places Tang Xiu mentioned. Blackwater City was the place where he first met Tang Xiu and also the place where he apprenticed to his master. That time was the first turning point of his fate when he was young. Fairy-Seeking Cliff was the place where he became an immortal. Due to special reasons, he experienced a narrow escape from death and finally barely broke through to the immortal stage. It was the 2nd transformation of his life. Flying Despairs was the place where his beloved died. It was also the place where his heart was like dead ashes and the place where he suffered the most in his life. The 3rd time, his fate was reversed. Misty Spring Ocean was the place where he lived in seclusion. He lived a muddle-headed life like a walking corpse without any vitality. If it weren't for his master's failure in crossing the tribulation and the persecution of his family, he felt that he would have died here alone. Tang Xiu slowly turned around and looked at Apotheon Mu, asking lightly, "Haven't guessed who I am yet?" When Apotheon Mu saw Tang Xiu's appearance at this moment, his body violently trembled and he immediately turned into a shadow that rushed in front of Tang Xiu. He knelt down and 2 lines of tears rolled down his face as he cried out, "Your master, you're still alive?" All sorts of feelings welled up inside Tang Xiu's heart. He gently stepped forward and gently hugged Apotheon Mu's head with both hands, letting him lean on him and softly said, "Yes, I'm still alive. Master." Apotheon Mu's tears flowed even faster, and he wailed, "Master, I thought you had failed to transcend the tribulation and your soul had dispersed. Little venerable Mu, I miss you." Tang Xiu gently patted the back of Apotheon Mu's head and bitterly said, "How could I not miss you? However what?" Apotheon Mu was confused. Tang Xiu adjusted his facial muscles and restored his original appearance. Immediately after, thick killing intent appeared on his handsome face and he said in a deep voice, "Everyone thought I had failed to transcend the tribulation, but I was actually besieged by my former lover and my most trusted brother. If it wasn't for a wisp of my spiritual sense entering another time and finally preserving my consciousness, I'm afraid my soul would have dispersed." "What did you say?" Apotheon Mu's body shook violently and disbelief filled his eyes. "You didn't hear it wrong. Xue Qingqing, Great Emperor Danqing, and Zither Demon Jiuyao," said Tang Xiu indifferently. "The 3 of them attacked me when I was at my weakest after transcending the divine tribulation." After saying that, he gently raised his right arm and released primal chaos force to prop Apotheon Mu up. "Master's wife, she," murmured Apotheon Mu. "She's no longer your master's wife. Tan Xiu coldly said, "She may have been forced to do so, but what she did will never be erased by time. Apotheon Mu, if you still think of me as your master, then don't have the slightest connection with her anymore." Apotheon Mu's lips squirmed a few times and he bitterly nodded. He originally thought that his master's wife, Xue Qingqing, chose to commit suicide because his master failed to transcend the tribulation and her soul dispersed. He didn't expect that his master did not fail to transcend the tribulation, but was persecuted by them instead. No wonder. No wonder those damned bastards, Great Emperor Danqing and Zither Demon Juyao, attacked our people after you disappeared. Master, our 4 senior brothers and junior brothers are now in danger, and the Rosefinch Holy Sect is holding up in the sect's mainland. No one dares to come out easily. Further, even Apotheosis Bella has been seriously injured. I'm afraid she won't be able to hold on for another 100 years if she can't find an immortal fruit, said Apotheon Mu bitterly. Tan Xiu's complexion slightly changed. He was silent for a long time before he slowly asked, "You mean Apotheosis Bella has taken action?" Apotheon Mu nodded and said, "Master, Apotheosis Bella has been fighting with Great Emperor Danqing and Zither Demon Jioyao for hundreds of years because of you. Although she has successfully broken through to the supremacy stage, she was still seriously injured by Great Emperor Danqing. I just came back from the Immortal Lyceum and was found by those 8 perfected golden immortals. She's in a very bad situation, Master." The guilt inside Tang Xiu's heart increased a bit. He murmured, Why did she do this?" Apotheon Mu hesitated for a moment and then seriously said, "Master, I'm not qualified to talk about your feelings for you because of your wife. But Apotheosis Bella has sacrificed too much for you in the past 600 to 700 years. She has fought countless powerful enemies for you. Her sect was eventually massacred by Zither Demon Juyao and his people because of her. More than half of her most beloved disciples had died in battle. Of the 18 perfected golden immortals of the Immortal Lyceum, only 6 are left now. If it weren't for her, I'm afraid that the Rosefinch Holy Sect's protective array would have been broken by Great Emperor Danqing and Zither Demon Juyao." What an ill-fated fate. Tan Xiu clenched his fists and a glimmer of tears appeared in his eyes. Apotheon Mu said, "We have to find a way to rescue our 4 martial brothers and sisters, Master. They are suffering endless torture every day and I'm afraid they won't be able to hold on for long." "What's the situation in the Heavenly Mountain?" asked Tan Xiu. "I've sent some people to inquire about it. Although all the people I sent were killed, they sent me a message before they died. There's a Supremacy Stage powerhouse guarding that place, the only Supremacy Stage senior of Zither Demon Juyao. In addition, there are also 12 perfected golden immortals there, laying a trap and waiting for our people to walk into the trap. There are also countless golden immortals there." Tan Xiu took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "We must save them, but we're not their match at the moment. I've started cultivating again, but I can't even compare to an immortal at the golden immortal stage. You've also seen the combat power around me. Even the 8 perfected golden immortals can't all be kept here. Given the strength of our people, even if all of us are dispatched, it's tantamount to hitting a stone with an egg." "Do you have any plans?" asked Apotheon Mu hurriedly. Tang Xiu took a deep breath and said, "The news that I'm still alive, aside from you, is only known by Catwoman. I didn't even recognize Anti-Star Tears when I rescued you." "Star Tears?" Apotheon Mu suddenly recalled that the female perfected golden immortal had asked about his injury before. He didn't care about it at that time, but now that he thought about it, she turned out to be Martial Ant Star Tears who had changed her appearance. "You can believe in Apotheosis Bella, Master." Apotheon Mu was silent for a long time before he resolutely said. Tan Xiu nodded slowly and said, "I didn't intend to tell her before, but I've changed my mind now. If we want to gain a foothold in the immortal world and recruit more troops to expand our forces, we must have a real powerhouse to oversee it. My father and the rest are in the Rosefinch Holy Sect, so there's no way for them to come out and help us. Therefore, Apotheosis Bella is our only choice." "Shall I take you to see her?" asked Apotheon Mu hurriedly. "I can't see her for the time being." Tan Xiu shook his head and said, "Tell me what kind of immortal fruit she needs. I'll find a way to find it for her." "The holy dragon fruit," Apotheon Mu said. Tan Xiu stared blankly for a moment. He immediately took out the holy dragon fruit from his interspatial ring and said in a deep voice, "What a coincidence! I have a holy dragon fruit. Take action now and give her the holy dragon fruit. Also, tell her to heal her injuries as soon as possible and strive to completely recover within half a year. We'll set off for the heavenly mountains 6 months later." Apotheon Mu nodded and said, "Senior brother, junior brother, and sister should be able to hold on for half a year with their strength. Besides, the other party still needs to use them as bait, so it's impossible to kill them so quickly. Master, do you have anything else you want me to convey?" Tan Xiu was silent for a moment and slowly said, "Extraordinary times call for extraordinary means. After you see Apotheosis Bella, ask her for some crystal essences. The more the better. I need them urgently." Apotheon Mu took out another interspatial ring from his ring and handed it to Tan Xiu, saying, "All my immortal crystals and crystal essences are in here, Master. There are nearly 2,000 crystal essences in total. Please take them and use them first." Without hesitation, Tan Xiu directly put away the things and said, "There's one more thing you need to do before you go see Apotheosis Bella. Although this misty spring ocean is within the Immortal Lyceum's sphere of influence, it's quite remote. I need to establish the Great Tang Empire here as our base camp. Therefore, I need you to clean up all the untrustworthy people and forces in the Misty Spring Ocean's sphere of influence." Apotheon Mu nodded and said, "Although I usually don't pay much attention to the Misty Spring Island, your request is still very easy for me. I'll clean up the entire Misty Spring Island in a month at most." "I'll give you a list," said Tan Xiu. "Also, send someone to find some alchemy herbs for me. I'll give you half a month to have more than 200,000 members of the Great Tang Empire obey your command. After you finish these things in half a month, I'll ask Zenith Venerable and Seaway Monarch, 2 perfected golden immortals, to accompany you to the Immortal Lyceum." "Understood." Apotheon Mu respectfully nodded. After thinking for a while, Tan Xiu handed over Gu Yin, from the Heavenly Abode artifact and said, "Greetings to your senior brother Apotheon Mu Yin. The return to the immortal world is in progress. Brothers and sisters, if you have any good suggestions or creative ideas for the ending of the immortal world, please leave a message on the WeChat public account. Quiet Night's WeChat public account is JS00, or search for Quiet Night Thoughts in the WeChat subscription account. Quiet Night is currently updating Tan Xiu's harem list bit by bit. Each and every one of them is breathtakingly beautiful .. Chapter 1297. A smile appeared on the corner of Gu Yen's mouth. As her appearance slowly changed, she bowed and said with a smile, "Yen greets senior brother Apotheon Mu. Senior brother promised Yen the 7-colored flowing light butterfly back then, but you haven't given it to me yet." Apotheon Mu's eyes widened and he looked at Gu Yen in disbelief. "Your Yen little? You weren't..." "Senior brother Mu, I was trapped in a certain impasse in the immortal world at that time. After a long time of cultivation, I was finally able to break the restriction there and rush out." Gu Yen smilingly said, "Actually, I have another identity that I believe senior brother Apotheon Mu should have heard of." "What identity?" asked Apotheon Mu, confused. "Rakshasa Demoness," answered Gu Yen with a chuckle. Apotheon Mu's pupils shrunk and disbelief filled his eyes. He said in amazement, "Junior sister Yen, you're actually the Rakshasa Demoness whose name shook the entire immortal world? Heavens! Your existence in the past made countless powerhouses in the immortal world turn pale. Even I, who lived in seclusion here for many years, heard of your name." "Everything I did was for Master," said Gu Yen with a smile. "Regardless of the process, I finally found Master." Tan Xiu chuckled and said, "It's a happy occasion for the two of you to meet again. Yen, you'll be in charge of the Heavenly Abode artifact in the future. After you release all the people of the Great Tang Empire, You'll lead the monster immortals to follow Apotheon Mu and clean up the entire Misty Spring Ocean. This Misty Spring Ocean will be the Great Tang Empire's base camp in the future. After we rescue your senior brothers and sisters, we'll use this place as the center to expand our territory in all directions. I understand, Master. Gu Yin nodded heavily. Repose Cliff. It was an excellent heavenly abode, blessed land. The immortal spiritual force here was exceptionally rich, and there was a large amount of liquid immortal spiritual force in the mist. Just taking a breath here was enough to refresh one's spirit. In addition, 8 immortal veins converged here. Anyone who cultivated here could extract the spiritual force of the earth vein and continuously inject it into their body to enhance their cultivation speed. 2 months later, Apotheon Mu and Gu Yin joined forces and led a large number of monster immortals of the great forces to clean up the misty spring of the entire misty spring of immortals. All the immortals who weren't loyal to Apotheon Mu were slaughtered. In just 2 months, more than 100,000 immortals on Mist Source Island were slaughtered, including some intelligence agents from other forces. There were no golden immortal experts in the entire Mist Source Island, except for those cultivated by Apotheon Mu. Meanwhile, Gu Yin and Apotheon Mu teamed up with the soldiers of the Great Tang Empire's 4 major legions and tens of thousands of immortals to form the new 4 major legions. At the same time, they also absorbed hundreds of thousands of Great Ascension Stage and Crossing Tribulation Stage warriors to form the new War Dragon Legion, War Tiger Legion, War Phoenix Legion, and War Martial Legion. Each legion had a total of 100,000 people, making a total of 400,000 people. 400,000 people. They were stationed in 8 directions around Mist Source Island, with 5 people in each direction. While they were stationed there, they also began to train the soldiers crazily. Tan Xiu even took out 5 million crystal essences and gave them to Gu Yener and Tang Min so that they could convert them into immortal crystals. A total of 500 million immortal crystals would be used for military expenses. After that, a huge amount of cultivation resources were sent by the Ministry of Finance to the 8 divisions of the 4 legions and distributed to all the members. Due to the huge amount of cultivation resources, the nearly 200,000 soldiers of the immortal world who were originally loyal to Apotheon Mu all accepted the Great Tang Empire's title and accepted the soldiers of the Great Tang Empire. The 2 of them cultivated with all their might, and as they interacted with each other, they gradually became one. The 4th month. On the edge of the Repose Cliff, Tan Xiu sat cross-legged with a huge aura surging from his body. Along with the vibration of hundreds of thousands of planets in the internal universe, a profound yellow aura gradually formed and finally merged with the primal chaos energy. Tang Xiu could clearly feel that the scope of the universe space inside his body had expanded a lot, and countless tiny planets had appeared. The Heavenly Path universe tree had also soared to tens of thousands of meters high. The verdant leaves were lush, and the endless aura of life drifted out of the tree and merged with the huge planets. Progress by leaps and bounds. The moment Tan Xiu opened his eyes, a look of satisfaction burst out from his eyes. He was just 1 step away from breaking through to the 3rd stage of the heavenly art of cosmic genesis. His current strength was comparable to a golden immortal stage powerhouse. Being able to achieve this in such a short time was mainly due to his previous comprehension of the realm, as well as the fact that Apotheon Mu sent someone to prepare the medicinal ingredients for refining the Demon Dragon Pill, allowing him to successfully refine 4 Demon Dragon Pills and swallow all of them. Buzz. Faintly, a terrifying aura formed above Tan Xiu. Only Tan Xiu could feel this terrifying aura. Even Gu Yen, who was quietly flipping through the ancient books on arrays dozens of meters away from Tan Xiu, didn't notice anything. Divine ability, fusion. A look of satisfaction appeared on Tan Xiu's handsome face. He had obtained several star essence divine abilities in the past. This kind of divine ability was very terrifying, even faintly surpassing some of the terrifying secret techniques of the immortal world. Originally, the strongest was the Devour divine ability, and now I have obtained the Fusion divine ability. Even if it's a late-stage golden immortal, I have some confidence in killing them if I go all out. Tan Xiu didn't test this fusion divine ability because it was too terrifying. Once used, it would be sensed by more than half of the Golden Immortals and perfected Golden Immortals in the Misty Spring Ocean. Immortal Court. After Apotheon Mu arrived with Zenith Venerable and Seaway Monarch, the expression of the perfected Golden Immortal stationed outside changed. After quickly sending a message token, he glanced at Zenith Venerable and Seaway Monarch, and then asked Apotheon Mu, "Apotheon Mu, what brings you here this time?" "I want to see Apotheosis Bella," said Apotheon Mu calmly. "I can let you in directly when you came alone last time," said the perfected Golden Immortal in a deep voice. "But this time, you brought 2 perfected Golden Immortals with you. I don't know if they are friends or foes, so I've sent a message to Apotheosis Bella. I can't guarantee whether she will see you or not. I'll be waiting." Apotheon Mu nodded. After a while, a stream of light appeared in the perfected Golden Immortal's hand. After reading the message, he immediately looked at Apotheon Mu and said, "Apotheosis Bella asked the 3 of you to go in directly. She's waiting for you in the main hall." "Understood." Apotheon Mu's group of 3 entered the vortex portal and quickly appeared on the square outside the palace. He stopped and looked at Zenith Venerable and Seaway Monarch, saying, "Both of you wait for me outside. I have something to discuss with Apotheosis Bella alone." "Understood." Zenith Venerable and Seaway Monarch cupped their fists at the same time. The duo watched Apotheon Mu's back as he flew into the palace with a strange expression in their eyes. "Don't you think it's getting more and more interesting, Brother Seaway?" Zenith Venerable said with a voice transmission. "Our master's identity seems to be different from what we usually see." "You're right," said Seaway Monarch. "Although we've never seen him in action, we can judge from his aura that he's just an ordinary immortal, yet he has a Golden Immortal as a disciple. Further, Gu Yen, shouldn't be a simple Golden Immortal. I'm afraid that she was once a perfected Golden Immortal at the very least, and she's probably not weaker than us. There's also Apotheon Mu. He's a dignified perfected Golden Immortal, yet he's also Master's disciple. I'm starting to speculate that our Master should be a terrifying supremacy stage powerhouse, right?" "That's right." "I also suspect that our Master was once a supremacy stage powerhouse." Zenith Venerable sighed. "Even if he wasn't, he should be a terrifying perfected Golden Immortal at the very least. Also, I have a vague feeling that if it's true, the 5,000 years we're going to be loyal to him won't be so easy." "What feeling?" asked Seaway Monarch, confused. "I suspect that our Master has a deep relationship with the Star Cultivation Great Emperor who once shook the immortal world," said Zenith Venerable bitterly. "Why do you say that?" asked Seaway Monarch in horror. "Everyone in the immortal world knows that Apotheosis Bella, the Lord of the Immortal Lyceum, has been pursuing Star Cultivation Great Emperor for thousands of years," said Zenith Venerable. "She even confessed her love to him countless times. But our Master actually set the Great Tang Empire's headquarters on Mist Source Island. You must know that Mist Source Island is within the Immortal Lyceum's sphere of influence. Furthermore, Great Emperor Danqing and Zither Demon Jiuyao launched a terrifying attack on the Rosefinch Holy Sect after Star Cultivation Great Emperor failed to cross his tribulation. Our Master personally said that he hated Zither Demon Jiuyao's character, so he ordered us to kill the 8 perfected Golden Immortal Generals of Zither Demon Jiuyao. All of this shows that our Master has a deep relationship with Star Cultivation Great Emperor. Our future opponents will probably be Zither Demon Jiuyao and Great Emperor Danqing." Seaway Monarch's eyes flickered. After pondering for a long time, he slowly nodded and said, "Your inference is very reasonable. However, our lives are now in his hands. Even if he wants us to directly kill Great Emperor Danqing and Zither Demon Jiuyao, we can't disobey him." "Yeah." Zenith Venerable sighed. "We'll probably have to live a life of war and slaughter for the next 5,000 years. However, the only thing we can rejoice about is that he gave us hope and treated us well." Seaway Monarch said, "Actually, if the Great Tang Empire has the strength to contend with Shade Demon Zhu Wushou in the future, and Master is willing to help me kill Shade Demon Zhu Wushou, I'm willing to pledge my eternal loyalty to him." "Brother Seaway, we've never talked about the past. But I didn't expect that your enemy turned out to be Zhu Wushou. Was he the one who seriously injured you and sold you to the convict arena? Chapter 1298. Seaway Monarch recalled the past and replied with a murderous voice transmission, "That's right. It's him, Shade Demon Zhu Wushou." Zenith Venerable pondered for a moment and slowly said, "My enemy is not Shade Demon Zhu Wushou, but if Master is willing to help you get rid of Shade Demon Zhu Wushou, then I'm afraid he can also help me kill my enemy. If he can help me, I'll pledge my allegiance to him forever." "Who's your enemy?" asked Seaway Monarch curiously. Zenith Venerable gritted his teeth and answered, "Frost Supreme, Hondan." Seaway Monarch forced a smile and said, "If our master can really help us take revenge, then we'll have too many enemies. However, judging from the current state of the Great Tang Empire, its future development is likely to be very terrifying. Let's not talk about anything else. Just the children of the Great Tang Empire who have been trained since they were young are simply like killing machines. With that kind of iron-fisted training method, I'm afraid that they will become terrifying killing machines once they grow up." Zenith Venerable nodded and said, "I've been to countless immortal domains and seen countless immortal legions. I've even trained my own immortal legion. But I've never seen any force or empire that can compare to the 4 major legions of the Great Tang Empire in terms of military posture and training methods. However, what shocked me the most was the 30,000 demonic immortals. Based on my observation and understanding, those demonic immortals had lived for more than 100,000 years, or even longer. Their accumulation had simply reached a terrifying level. Haven't you noticed that hundreds of celestial immortals have broken through to the golden immortal stage recently?" "Yeah, but you missed something." Seaway Monarch nodded and said, "What else?" "What else?" Zenith Venerable asked curiously. "I just happened to discover that one of our master's disciples, the young man named Chen Jizhong, actually possesses an ancient shaman artifact and is also a magus cultivator," said Seaway Monarch. "Although the clan that possesses the ancient shaman artifact has been persecuted, you should know how terrifying they are, right?" "It's them." Zenith Venerable was aghast. Inside the majestic palace, Apotheosis Bella was still sitting cross-legged on the 9 Dragons' throne. Her complexion was even paler and her spirit was even more dispirited. There were even bloodstains on her chest. Immortal Sovereign. After Apotheon Mu floated over and saw Apotheosis Bella's appearance, he immediately showed a worried look. Apotheosis Bella squeezed out a smile and nodded with satisfaction. "You didn't let me down, Apotheon Mu. The Heavenly Mountain was a trap set up by the enemy. Going there recklessly would only result in death. I'm very pleased that you understand the concept of where there's life, there's hope." Apotheon Mu took out the holy dragon fruit from his interspatial ring and sent it to Apotheosis Bella with his immortal force. Then, he respectfully said, "Venerable, things have changed, so I didn't rush to the Heavenly Mountain to rescue my 4 martial brothers. I've brought this holy dragon fruit for you. When I leave later, you can consume it to heal your injuries." Apotheosis Bella looked shocked. She grabbed the holy dragon fruit and repeatedly observed it for a while. Then, she turned to Apotheon Mu and murmured, "The holy dragon fruit is rare and extremely precious. It's also one of the main materials for refining the primordial chaos pill. How did you find it?" Apotheon Mu slightly smiled and said, "Apotheosis Bella, this junior has something important to discuss with you alone. This matter is very important. I hope you can promise me." "Junior?" Apotheosis Bella was at a loss. It had been thousands of years since she met Apotheon Mu, and this was the first time he addressed himself as a junior in front of her. What exactly happened? This person in front of her was undoubtedly Apotheon Mu. It was impossible for him to deceive her eyes with a transformation technique. But why was he behaving like this? Apotheosis Bella was silent for a while and then slowly said, "You leave first. You're not allowed to come here without my summon." Bush. A man and a woman appeared in front of Apotheosis Bella out of thin air with vigilant looks on their faces. The old woman then said in a deep voice, "Venerable, there's something wrong with Apotheon Mu. He brought 2 perfected golden immortals this time, and I've seen one of them before. He's Zenith Venerable. His strength is not to be underestimated. Apotheosis Bella shot a deep look at Apotheon Mu and said in a deep voice, "You two don't need to say anything. I choose to believe him because he doesn't need to bring the holy dragon fruit if he wants to harm me. He doesn't even need to do anything. It's very difficult for me to last for 100 years." The two old men exchanged glances and finally retreated with a wry smile. Apotheosis Bella looked at Apotheon Mu and calmly said, "I've told them to retreat. There's only the two of us left here. Just say what you want to say." Apotheon Mu looked around and pondered for a moment. Then he seriously said, "Venerable, what I'm going to say is very important. Not only to me but also to you. Therefore, there must be no one else here. Else, I'm afraid you'll kill him no matter how much you trust him." Apotheosis Bella's complexion slightly changed, but she still calmly said, "Say it. I guarantee there's only the two of us left here." Apotheon Mu took a few steps forward and transmitted his voice to her. "Venerable, my master asked me to send his regards to you." "What did you say?" Apotheosis Bella rushed up and instantly appeared in front of Apotheon Mu. Her hands trembled as she grabbed Apotheon Mu's chest and fiercely shouted, "I won't allow you to talk nonsense about him. Give me an explanation. You must give me an explanation." "Venerable, my master is not dead. He's back." Apotheon Mu smiled. "He's not dead? He's back." The short sentence was like a clap of thunder that blasted Apotheosis Bella's heart, making her dizzy for a while. It took her a long time to sober up from the shock. Sparkling tears welled up in her eyes as she asked with extreme emotion, "Where is he now? Tell me, where is he?" By the end, her voice had become very sharp. Apotheon Mu forced a smile and said, "Venerable, your injuries are too serious. Don't get too excited. My master is in my misty spring ocean. But due to some special reasons he can't come to see you now. He can't even see you now." "But," Apotheosis Bella angrily shouted, "why can't he see me now? Tell me, what's the special reason? I, Bella, have risked my life countless times for him. Countless relatives and friends have died in battle. I want to know what's the special reason why he can't come to see me?" "Venerable, Master didn't die because he failed to cross his tribulation, but was ambushed and killed by others," said Apotheon Mu in a deep voice. "Fortunately, a wisp of his spiritual sense traveled through space and entered a lower plane world, so he barely survived. Now, Master's cultivation is only comparable to a weak celestial immortal at most. But in this immortal world, there are no less than 5 supremacy stage powerhouses. Do you think he can easily expose his identity? Do you think he can swagger here to see you?" Apotheosis Bella's eyes widened and she staggered backward for 5 steps before she barely managed to stabilize her figure. The shock on her face receded and was replaced by endless killing intent. She asked with a heavy voice, "Great Emperor Danqing and Zither Demon Jiuyao are among those supremes?" "That's right." Apotheon Mu nodded with a solemn expression. "You may not know this, but Zither Demon Jiuyao's men have appeared outside your immortal Lyceum. I was besieged by 8 perfected golden immortals under Zither Demon Jiuyao when I left your place last time. If it wasn't for Master's timely arrival to kill 6 perfected golden immortals and severely injure the other 2, I'm afraid my soul would have flown away and perished by now." Apotheosis Bella finally understood why Tan Xiu couldn't come to see her. He was surrounded by enemies on all sides. That was his difficulty. 2 lines of tears kept rolling down Apotheosis Bella's face. She was crying tears of joy. Even though she was in front of Apotheon Mu, she still cried for a long time before wiping the tears on her face. "Apotheon Mu, does he still despise me like he used to?" Apotheosis Bella asked cautiously with a look of fear and trepidation on her face. "Apotheon Mu, he already knows what you've done for him. He feels very guilty about it." Apotheon Mu shook his head. "When he talked about you back then, I could see that there was a bit of pity in his emotions." "Pity?" Apotheosis Bella's eyes widened and she quickly analyzed the meaning of this word. A trace of surprise gradually emerged in her eyes, followed by ecstasy on her face. Pity? He's finally moved by me? Apotheosis Bella's body slightly trembled. Hot tears flowed from her eyes again as she shouted, Apotheon Mu, tell me what he thinks and his plan. Since there are enemies, let's kill them all. He's back and there's nothing he can't do in the immortal world. I believe in him. There are 4 things in total, said Apotheon Mu with a smile. Apotheosis Bella's eyes lit up and she immediately said, Tell me. I'll keep it in mind. First, only you can know that he's still alive, said Apotheon Mu. You must never tell anyone, not even those close to you. Because only you and I know that Master is still alive. Even Marshal Ant Star Tears, who is now with Master, didn't tell her. I promise. Apotheosis Bella replied in a deep voice. Second, Master wants you to take the holy dragon fruit to heal your injuries as soon as possible, said Apotheon Mu with a smile. Also, I brought you some healing pills that can speed up your recovery. Apotheosis Bella nodded seriously and said, No problem. I'll be able to recover in a few months after getting the holy dragon fruit. Immortal Bella solemnly nodded and said, No problem. After obtaining the holy dragon fruit, I will be able to fully recover in a few months. Third, Master needs immortal crystals and crystal essences. The more, the better, said Apotheon Mu. After I get them, I'll immediately rush back and give them to him. Brothers and sisters, the recommendation votes are flying. Quiet Night is striving to update 4 chapters today. I'm deeply grateful. Under the Chapter 1299. Apotheosis Bella took a deep breath and said, I'll send someone to get all the immortal crystals and crystal essences later. You'll bring them to him. Apotheon Mu nodded and said, The 4th matter. The great Tang Empire founded by Master is located in the Misty Spring Ocean. Master ordered me to tell you to send people to clean up the entire Immortal Lyceum's sphere of influence and eliminate all the hidden enemies as much as possible. After we rescue my 4 martial brothers, the great Tang Empire will expand its territory in all directions with the Misty Spring Ocean as the center. Apotheosis Bella nodded and said, I've already taken care of this matter. I'll handle it myself when necessary. I guarantee that I'll clean up all the problematic subordinates in a short time. After saying that, she summoned the 2 old men and said in a deep voice, I'll give you 2 hours to send all the immortal crystals and crystal essences the Immortal Lyceum has. Remember to send as many as you have. The 2 old men exchanged glances and immediately nodded. An hour later, they returned to Apotheosis Bella with an interspatial ring. The old man said, Venerable, there are more than 450 million immortal crystals and 87 million crystal essences in our Immortal Lyceum's vault. They're all in this interspatial ring. Apotheosis Bella slightly nodded and said, Give them to Apotheon Mu. The old man hesitated and forced a smile. Venerable, our Immortal Lyceum will have no immortal crystals and crystal essences to use once we give them all to Apotheon Mu. If we can't come up with the immortal crystals half a year later, Apotheosis Bella waved her hand and said, I'll naturally have a way when the time comes. The old man handed the interspatial ring with a large number of immortal crystals and crystal essences to Apotheon Mu and then left with the old woman. Apotheosis Bella took a deep breath and looked at Apotheon Mu. Is back. What about her? Apotheon Mu's eyes flashed with killing intent and he indifferently said, She was one of the people who besieged Master. What? Apotheosis Bella seemed to have heard the most incredible thing in the world and exclaimed, How is that possible? Although she's my rival in love, no one knows her better than I do. She can die for Shio. How could she? Apotheon Mu lightly said, If it weren't for Shade Demon Zhu Wusho, perhaps she wouldn't have tried to kill Master. However, she was Shade Demon Zhu Wusho's disciple. Even though she committed suicide at the place where Master died after she persecuted him, the incident of her harming Master still happened. Apotheosis Bella was completely shocked. Shade Demon Zhu Wusho? It was no wonder that Shade Demon Zhu Wusho's subordinates were present in the siege of the Rosefinch Holy Sect by Great Emperor Danqing and Zither Demon Jiuyao. It was even rumored that Shade Demon Zhu Wushou had personally killed a few elders of the Rosefinch Holy Sect. So, these rumors were all true. Among the enemies, there was also the Shade Demon Supreme Zhu Wushou. Apotheosis Bella clenched her fists and coldly said, "Whoever dares to hurt him is my enemy. Not even her. It's good that she's dead. If she's not dead, I won't let her have it easy." Apotheon Mu shook his head and sighed. "Venerable Immortal, Master personally said that she's still alive. However, the matter between them had already been written off. From now on, they would only be passers-by. Also, there's one more thing I need to tell you. Master now has other women, and a lot of them." Apotheosis Bella's body trembled. After staring blankly for a long time, she suddenly burst into laughter and said, "He regretted it. Ha, he finally got it. A lot of them is good. The more the better. I'll be happy even if all the women in the immortal world are his." Apotheon Mu asked in disbelief, "Don't tell me you're not?" Apotheosis Bella smiled brightly and asked back, "Jealous? Why would I be jealous? If he can have other women, I'll have a chance. What I'm most afraid of is that he doesn't have the slightest interest in any woman other than that bitch." Apotheon Mu was tongue-tied as he listened to Apotheosis Bella's remarks. His heart was in turmoil and the shock he felt was hard to comprehend. He simply couldn't imagine how much Apotheosis Bella loved his master to the extent that she could have such thoughts. After a long time, with a deep sigh, Apotheon Mu said, "Venerable, Master being able to get your feelings is the proudest thing in his life. Although he didn't say anything, I think he already regards you as one of his own." Apotheosis Bella raised her hand to wipe the tears from her eyes. Her pear-blossoming smile was extremely moving. She nodded heavily and said word by word, "I firmly believe that I'll soon become one of his own in the eyes of those he cares about. I'm looking forward to the day when I can call you Master's wife," said Apotheon Mu. Having said that, Apotheon Mu didn't stay any longer. After leaving the palace, he directly left with Zenith Venerable and Seaway Monarch. However, before the three of them left, Zenith Venerable and Seaway Monarch were keenly aware that an extremely weak figure appeared at the palace gate behind them and watched them leave. Suddenly, Apotheon Mu's body trembled. The words that were transmitted to the depths of his heart made him feel touched and admiration. It should be right. The relationship between Master and Apotheosis Bella must be very deep, said Seaway Monarch. Zenith Venerable replied, "Yes, I've seen Apotheosis Bella before. Rumor has it that she has broken through to the supremacy stage. A dignified supremacy stage powerhouse actually appeared to see us off in person. This shows that the purpose of Apotheon Mu's visit is very important to her. And this important factor is likely to be because of Master." The exchange between the two quickly ended. The two of them were even more convinced that their Master, Great Tang Heavenly Emperor, and Star Cultivation Great Emperor, or someone from the Rosefinch Holy Sect, had a deep relationship. It was so deep that even Apotheosis Bella, who once loved Star Cultivation Great Emperor, had to personally see them off despite being seriously injured to show how much she valued them. A month later, Apotheon Mu's trio returned to the misty spring ocean. When Apotheon Mu handed over more than 450 million immortal crystals and 87 million crystal essences to Tan Xiu, he recounted the process of meeting Apotheosis Bella, as well as Apotheosis Bella's words and actions. Finally, he said, "Master, Apotheosis Bella gave us all these immortal crystals and crystal essences, but her immortal Lyceum's treasury has been cleaned out. Before she came back, she also told me to pass a message to you." "What is it?" Although Tan Xiu had already guessed it, he still asked with a complicated expression. "The heart of the past, the feelings of true love, will never change for generations to come," said Apotheon Mu. Tan Xiu clenched his fists and slowly loosened them. After a long time, he faintly sighed and looked at Apotheon Mu. "From today onward, you and Yen will be stationed at Repose Cliff. You must not leave unless it's absolutely necessary. Additionally, Seaway Monarch and Zenith Venerable, the two perfected golden immortals, will stay here to guard Misty Spring Island. While you're away, I've arranged an unparalleled array within a radius of 50 kilometers of Repose Cliff. Even if a supremacy stage powerhouse were to attack, you'll be able to hold on for a quarter of an hour as long as you're in charge of the array. Additionally, I've also personally arranged a spatial teleportation array that can teleport people tens of thousands of miles away. Where are you going, Master? Asked Apotheon Mu hurriedly. I'm going to take Anti-Star Tears on a trip to the Sacred Dragon Immortal Domain 12 immortal domains away from here, said Tanshio. I'm going to buy a batch of perfected golden immortal gladiators. They will become an important battle force for us to rescue your 4 junior brothers and junior sisters. Master, the journey to the Sacred Dragon Immortal Domain is very long and there are several chaotic immortal domains in between, said Apotheon Mu hurriedly. I'm really worried if you only take Anti-Star Tears with you. How about you take Zenith Venerable and Seaway Monarch as well? There's no need to take them. Don't worry. Tanshio shook his head. Besides Anti-Star Tears, I'll also take Dragonfly and Battlepung with me. I know about Battlepung, but who's Dragonfly? Asked Apotheon Mu, confused. A smile appeared on the corner of Tanshio's mouth as he said, He's a child I met on the way to the misty spring ocean. He's also your junior brother. I just didn't expect that I would pick up a treasure on a whim. You mean, junior brother Dragonfly is very special? Asked Apotheon Mu in surprise. He's very special. You can't imagine how special he is, said Tanshio with a smile. We can save a lot of trouble as long as he's with us. All right, I'll leave this place to you. There's no time like the present, so we'll leave today. We'll definitely come back in a few months or half a year. It's just that the plan to rescue the 4 of them has to be put on hold. Apotheon Mu nodded and said, The best time to rescue them is when we're well prepared. I'm sure we can make it even if we have to wait for half a year. In the vast universe of the immortal world, Tanshio sat cross-legged on the golden carriage pulled by the Cloudpiercer beast, quietly cultivating, while Dragonfly and Battlepung sat cross-legged on both sides of him, seriously cultivating. Only Star Tears, clad in a black robe and carrying an immortal sword on her back, was calmly watching the surroundings. Star Tears couldn't understand why Tanshio only brought the 3 of them out this time. From her observation of Tanshio, she had always thought that Tanshio was afraid of death. He didn't even hesitate to spend a huge number of immortal crystals and crystal essences to buy a large number of golden immortals from the convict arena. He even bought 3 perfected golden immortals. However, she also found another situation. Her master rarely communicated with her. He even seemed to faintly reject her. We're almost at Agric Castle, right? Suddenly, Tanshio opened his eyes and asked. Star Tears woke up from her thoughts and nodded. We're still millions of kilometers away from Agric Castle. We can get there in half an incense stick of time. Do you want to go to Agric Castle, Your Majesty? That's right. I do want to go to Agric Castle, said Tanshio. Maybe there'll be an unexpected harvest there. Do you want to buy some poisonous mushrooms? Asked Star Tears. Today's 4th update has ended. It's already the end of the month. I'm asking for monthly votes and recommendation votes. Thank you very much _carrot also. Quiet Night has just updated the Stunning Beauty list on her WeChat public account. Guess who the latest Stunning Beauty is? If you haven't followed the WeChat public account, please follow it as soon as possible. Quiet Night's WeChat public account is JS00, or directly search for Quiet Night Thoughts in the WeChat subscription account and follow it. Fresh and hot stunning beauties are waiting for our brothers and sisters to taste _carrot. Chapter 1300. Tanshio nodded and said, I've long heard that Mushroom Castle is rich in poisonous mushrooms, among which the 5-colored and 7-colored ones are the most poisonous ones. If I can buy these 2 kinds of poisonous mushrooms by chance, I'll be able to refine a poisonous pill, which will play a great role in our safety in the future. You're also proficient in refining poisonous pills, Your Majesty? Asked Star Tears in surprise. I'm naturally proficient in things that can save my life and even kill my enemies, said Tanshio with a faint smile. Star Tears couldn't help but roll her eyes secretly. Despite having a firm mind, She was still speechless toward Tan Xiu. She had never seen anyone who was so afraid of death. No matter what the situation was, he always put safety as the first priority. He was afraid that he would be killed if he lacked the means to save his life. A top-grade great emperor. Star Tears inwardly gave Tan Xiu a definition. Mushroom Castle. It was a mushroom-shaped city. This city couldn't be compared to the large cities Tan Xiu had encountered before, but there were hundreds of millions of races living here. The sky was filled with cultivators riding their flying swords, immortals with powerful auras, various races, and all kinds of life forms in the immortal world. The closer they got to Mushroom Castle, the more cultivators they encountered. However, the cultivators who could survive in the immortal world all had a keen eyesight. Countless people had seen the golden chariot Tan Xiu's group of 4 and realized that they were very powerful. After all, just the cloud-piercing beasts emitting a soft white light seemed to be immortal-grade immortal beasts. Soon, Tan Xiu's group of 4 was only 1,000 miles away from the gate of Mushroom Castle. In order to not attract attention after entering the city, the 4 got off the golden chariot and directly stored the golden chariot and the cloud-piercing beasts into the small heavenly abode artifact refined by Tan Xiu and then flew into Mushroom Castle. Come to think of it, it's been thousands of years since I've been here, right? Tan Xiu couldn't help but sigh as he observed the small mushroom-shaped buildings around. Thousands of years? Star Tears could not help but curl her lips and give Tan Xiu a disdainful look. She didn't believe that a cultivator who was at most comparable to an ordinary immortal could live for thousands of years. Inside the city, countless hawking voices rang out incessantly. All sorts of shops and stalls were using all sorts of methods to attract customers. Fantasy Pagoda. The large shops in the Mushroom Castle looked especially grand just from the outside. Outside the other shops, there were countless shop assistants trying to attract customers. However, outside the gate of the Dream Restaurant, there were only 4 majestic men coldly watching the passers-by and guarding the entrance. This is it. Tan Xiu had been here before, but there was no fantasy house here. Therefore, it was obvious that this illusory pagoda was not an established shop. However, to be able to occupy such a huge shop in the Mushroom Castle, it meant that their family's strength was definitely very strong. They entered the interior. Immediately, a wide open space appeared in front of Xiao Chen. There were many poisonous mushrooms in the huge space, but judging from their quality, they were all ordinary poisonous mushrooms. In addition, there were also some other goods besides the poisonous mushrooms, but their quality was very mediocre. Welcome, distinguished guests. May I know what you need? A delicate and pretty shop assistant in a white dress greeted them and asked with a professional fake smile. I need to buy some poisonous mushrooms, at least 5 colored ones, said Tan Xiu. If your fantasy house has them and the price is affordable, I'll buy them. If not, I'll leave disappointed. 5 colored poisonous mushrooms? At least? The shop assistant's expression shifted and she observed Tan Xiu's group of 4 again. She then nodded and said, Please follow me to the 6th floor. Our fantasy house's treasures are all placed on the 6th floor. However, all of you must be mentally prepared, because every single item on the 6th floor is extremely expensive. Expensive or not, it's your business, said Tan Xiu calmly. Whether it's worth it or not is my opinion. If you really have good stuff, I'll be happy to buy it even if I have to spend more money. The shop assistant in a white dress faintly smiled and led the 4 to the 6th floor. An empty hall suddenly appeared in front of everyone. There were a total of 108 booths in the hall, each with an item on it. Kongdong, I saw this Octogem's Golden Lotus Pagoda first, so I'll never give it to you. Don't think that your vast martial sect is so powerful. If you provoke me, I'll just kill you and leave. An old man with long white hair and a walking stick glared at one of the 5 people in front of him and fiercely shouted. The leader of the 5 people had a hooked nose and triangular eyes, looking very mean. At this moment, he gloomily looked at the old man and coldly said, I'm afraid the vast martial sect's powerhouses will arrive before you can kill me. Old geezer, this Octogem's Golden Lotus Pagoda is an immortal artifact that can only be fully controlled by a golden immortal. You're just a celestial immortal, Yet you want to take it for yourself? I can't keep it, the old man angrily shouted. I'll naturally be able to use it when I break through to the golden immortal stage one day. This Octogem's golden lotus pagoda is a treasure that can only be found by chance. Kong Dong clenched his fists and directly sent a message token under the old man's fierce eyes. Then he proudly said, I'll let you be arrogant now, but I'll make you kneel and beg for mercy when the powerhouses of my sect arrive. The old man's expression changed and he hesitated for a moment. He then turned to look at the silent shop assistant and said in a deep voice, It's a rule in the immortal world that when a treasure is fancied by many people, the highest bidder will obtain it, right? The shop assistant nodded and said, That's right. Do you want to bid for it? That's right. We want to bid for it, said the old man resolutely. The price of this Octogem's golden lotus pagoda is 2 million immortal crystals. I'm willing to bid too. 1 million immortal crystals for it. You dare to compete with me in wealth, old geezer? Kong Dong angrily yelled. Buddy, I'm willing to buy this Octogem's golden lotus pagoda for 3 million immortal crystals. The old man slightly furrowed his brows and coldly said, For million immortal crystals, 5 million, shouted Kong Dong. The old man's brows furrowed deeper. After being silent for a long while, he slowly said, 5 million immortal crystals. That's all the immortal crystals I can take out. If you can offer a higher price, I can give this Octogem's golden lotus pagoda to you. Kong Dong's face turned black. He was very rich and the elders of the vast martial sect usually gave him a lot of immortal crystals. But the number of immortal crystals he had was only about 6 million. If he were to take out so many immortal crystals to buy an immortal artifact all at once, it would make him very poor for the next 100 years. However, he would lose face in front of this old bastard if he couldn't take it out. Once today's matter was spread out, he wouldn't be able to raise his head for many years. 6 million immortal crystals. Kong Dong gritted his teeth and shouted sternly. A bitter look appeared on the old man's face. He shook his head and turned around to leave. 6 million immortal crystals. Tan Xiao, who was not far away, let out a faint smile and went straight to the front of the crowd. The old man, who was just about to leave, suddenly had a change in expression. He immediately held back the thought of leaving and looked at Tan Xiao in surprise. Tan Xiao looked at the shop assistant and smilingly said, In front of a treasure, the highest bidder gets it. Am I right? You're right, said the shop assistant with a smile. Tan Xiao looked at Kong Dong and asked, Do you still want to continue bidding? If you don't, this Octogem's golden lotus pagoda will be mine. If you continue bidding, maybe I'll continue to increase the price. Never in his wildest dreams did Kong Dong expect that someone would intercept him halfway. He fiercely glared at Tan Xiao and angrily shouted, Where the hell did you come from, you bastard? You actually have the qualifications to compete with me? Are you tired of living? Tan Xiao moved lightning fast and slapped him in the face, sending him flying tens of meters away and heavily hitting the ice-cold ground. He then sneered and said, How dare you be so arrogant and domineering in front of me? You're the first person who dares to insult my people, especially to my face, and you're the first person to not die. Damn! How dare you hit the people of our vast martial sect? Are you tired of living? An Earth Immortal expert of the vast martial sect angrily shouted and was about to attack. The other 3 people around him also unleashed their immortal swords, ready to go all out. I didn't kill you just now to give face to the shop owner. Tan Xiao sneered. Since you're courting death, then I'll fulfill your wish. As his voice faded away, a stream of light instantly passed through the 4 people and directly killed them while they were unable to dodge or block it. It was Battle Peng who attacked. The shop assistant wanted to stop him, but it was too late. He could only watch helplessly as the 4 people were killed. He hurriedly shouted, You're not allowed to kill people in our shop. Battle Peng didn't stop after killing the 4 people in an instant. Instead, he beheaded Kong Dong and punched him into minced meat. Only then did he say with satisfaction, My master gave you face and only slapped them. But since they were courting death, we had no choice but to be impolite. You The shop assistant was furious. Tan Xiu shot him a cold look and said overbearingly, "What about us? What's the big deal about killing them? Aren't they just some ants? Why bother with such trivial matters? Besides, your Phantasmagoria Pagoda has opened its doors to do business. It's easy to get into trouble if you meddle too much. It's better to just keep your mouth shut and deal with me directly." A figure flickered and instantly appeared in front of everyone. It was a middle-aged man with a scholarly aura and a fan in his hand. He looked at the 5 corpses on the ground and indifferently said, "What you said does make sense, sir. But the rules of my Phantasmagoria Pagoda must not be broken. We can't just ignore you unless you can show us the strength to deter us. I can kill you within 2 breaths. Do you believe me?" Battle Ping sneered. The middle-aged man was also a golden immortal. His expression slightly changed upon sensing the aura Battle Ping instantly released. He lightly smiled and said, "If you only have 1 golden immortal, I'm afraid it's not enough to deter our Phantasmagoria Pagoda. It's the last day. I'm begging for the monthly votes. Quiet Night will add a chapter for every 100 monthly votes increase. How many chapters will be released today depends on the brothers and sisters _. Chapter 1301. Star Tears stood beside Tan Xiu and her aura flashed away, but the middle-aged man's body stiffened and a horrified look appeared in his eyes. His attitude suddenly took a 180-degree turn. "Please forgive me for offending you, senior." The middle-aged man was perturbed and his attitude became particularly respectful. After all, a golden immortal was already a very powerful expert, and there were only a few perfected golden immortals in the immortal domain. Even the strongest expert in this agric castle seemed to be a late-stage golden immortal. Star Tears almost didn't feel like paying attention to the man in front of her. She maintained her composure and quietly stood beside Tan Xiu. 6 million immortal crystals, right? Asked Tan Xiu indifferently. 2 million immortal crystals and this 8 treasures golden lotus pagoda is yours, said the middle-aged man hurriedly. I don't think anyone will dare to object to this price. The pale and timid old man hurriedly nodded and said, I dare not. Only the senior is qualified to use such a treasure. Tan Xiu let out a faint smile and took out 2 million immortal crystals and threw it to the middle-aged man. Then he said, I need to buy a 5-colored toadstool or a 7-colored toadstool. Since your clerk took me to the 6th floor, you should have them for sale here, right? Our store does have a 5-colored toadstool, said the middle-aged man respectfully. It just happened to be delivered here 2 days ago. However, we don't have any 7-colored toadstool here. If you really need it, I'm afraid you'll have to wait here for some time. We've spent more than a decade to set up this trap, and we're about to close the net soon. At that time, a 7-colored toadstool will be delivered here. How long will you have to wait? Asked Tan Xiu. It'll take 3 months if there are no accidents during the delivery, answered the middle-aged man. Tan Xiu slowly nodded and said, Sell me the 5-colored toadstool first and I'll pay 100,000 immortal crystals as a deposit. After that, I will pay 100,000 immortal crystals as a deposit. 3 months later, I will personally return here to purchase the rainbow toadstool. The middle-aged man hesitated for a moment and said, The 5-colored toadstool is very expensive and the 7-colored toadstool is even more expensive. Will you really buy it? What's the price of these 2 toadstool? Asked Tan Xiu. The middle-aged man said, The 5-colored toadstool requires 1 million immortal crystals, and the 7-colored toadstool requires 8 million immortal crystals. Tan Xiu directly handed him 2 million immortal crystals and lightly said, I'll give you 1 million immortal crystals as a deposit. As for the remaining 7 million immortal crystals, I'll pay you directly after I see the rainbow toadstool. After all, this small amount of money is nothing to me. The middle-aged man's eyes lit up and he immediately smiled in satisfaction. Esteemed guest, please rest assured. If the 7-colored toadstool arrives, I will definitely keep it for you. Very soon. Tan Xiu took the fist-sized multicolored toadstool. Looking at the beautiful color of its body, he was secretly satisfied. Even the 5-colored toadstool could be refined into a very good poison pill. If he could get the 7-colored toadstool and refine the poison pill, perhaps even a perfected golden immortal would be greatly injured. Let's go! Tan Xiu led the group to leave the fantasy pagoda. Just as they walked for a kilometer on the crowded street, Tan Xiu's expression moved and a strange light flashed in his eyes. He turned his head and said, "I'll wait for you at the tea house in front. Bring him to see me." Understood. Battle Peng slightly nodded and quickly rushed toward the old man following behind. A few minutes later, when the fragrant tea was just delivered to Tan Xiu, the old man followed behind Battle Peng and entered the tea house. He looked a bit hesitant and vigilant when he looked at Tan Xiu's group. Tan Xiu took a sip of the fragrant tea and looked up at the old man. The old man took a deep breath and said in a low voice, "I wonder if Senior has 1 million crystal essences? 1 million crystal essences is just a small amount for me." Tan Xiu raised his brows. "I can take it out at any time." The old man rejoiced inwardly and asked again, "Have you heard of the soul pursuit tokens, Senior?" Tan Xiu's expression changed and he nodded. There are 9 soul pursuit tokens in the entire immortal world belonging to Battle Soul Supreme. 6 of them have appeared in the past. Every holder of the soul pursuit token can send a request to Battle Soul Supreme. No matter what it is, Battle Soul Supreme can personally handle it. "You're wrong, sir," the old man respectfully said. "There have actually been 7 soul pursuit tokens. 260 years ago, Battle Soul Supreme got the soul pursuit token and chased Azure Snake Supreme for 100 years before finally killing him in the desolate ruins. Hence, there are still 2 soul pursuit tokens left in the outside world." Tan Xiu narrowed his eyes and lightly asked, "Do you have the soul pursuit token?" The old man shook his head. "I don't have the soul pursuit token, but I have the information about it. If Senior is willing to pay me 1 million crystal essences, I can tell you the information about the soul pursuit token. I can guarantee that the information about the soul pursuit token is absolutely reliable, and it won't be difficult to obtain it. What I want to know is, how many times have you sold the information about the soul pursuit token?" asked Tan Xiu lightly. "It's the first time for you." The old man shook his head. "Tell me about it." Tan Xiu nodded. "I can pay 1 million crystal essences if the information you provided is true. But let's put it bluntly first. I can only give you 500,000 crystal essences before I get the soul pursuit token. I'll pay you the remaining 500,000 crystal essences after I get the soul pursuit token." "No problem." The old man looked excited and replied with a voice transmission, "The soul pursuit token is in the vast martial sect's consecration hall, guarded by the sect's only perfected golden immortal and 18 golden immortals." "How do you know that?" asked Tan Xiu with a frown. A look of hatred appeared in the old man's eyes. He clenched his fists and said with a murderous expression, "The woman I love deeply is the daughter of the vast martial sect's vice sect master. Since I have no background and my cultivation aptitude is not very strong, I was finally separated from my beloved. She died under the vast martial sect's coercion. I hate myself for not having the ability to do so, else I would have slaughtered the entire vast martial sect." Tan Xiu nodded and said, "I'm sorry for making you think of such unpleasant things. Here are 500,000 crystal essences. I'll contact you personally after I get the soul pursuit token and compensate you with the remaining 500,000 crystal essences. But if you lie to me, you'll be hunted down endlessly even if you flee to any corner of the immortal crystal world." The old man accepted the 500,000 crystal essences and firmly said, "Senior, you can place a restriction on me first if you don't trust me. I know many powerful experts who have such tracking restrictions." Tan Xiu faintly smiled. He got up and came to the front of the old man. He gently patted his shoulder and asked for his message token before he turned around and left. "You've placed a restriction on me?" The old man's expression shifted as he watched Tan Xiu's group leave with a complicated expression. He didn't even notice how Tan Xiu placed a restriction on him. Outside Agric Castle, Tan Xiu's eyes flickered, but he didn't plan to go to the vast martial sect immediately. After all, the other party had a perfected golden immortal. Whoosh! Tan Xiu sent out a message token and then hurried on with Battle Pang's group of 3. Sacred Dragon Immortal Domain. The Immortal World's Central Immortal Domain was definitely ranked in the top 10 among all the large immortal domains in the entire Immortal World. Golden Immortals could be found everywhere here, and perfected Golden Immortals could often be seen. Occasionally, the figures of Supremes would also appear. Convict Arena. The headquarters was set up in the Sacred Dragon Immortal Domain and was named Convict City. South City of Convict City. In a dilapidated courtyard, Old Sycamore was lying on a recliner, comfortably burping and humming a tune. A unicorn wolf was curled up at his feet, looking listless. Ding, ding. The silver bell at the door suddenly rang, and a teenage girl with a ponytail appeared in the courtyard like a gust of wind. She giggled and called out, "Grandpa Wudong, there's a guest at the door." Old Sycamore rolled his eyes and grunted. "This old man went out to kill some kittens and puppies a few days ago, so I moved my body too violently and now I'm aching all over. Tell your mother to receive the guests. Alas, getting old really isn't fun. Just moving a few times makes my back ache and legs cramp." The girl appeared at Old Sycamore's side with a beaming smile. She stretched out her hand and twisted his ear, grinning. "My mother has gone to be a guide for other guests. Only the 2 of us are left in the house now. Do you want me to be a guide for others?" Old Sycamore shuddered and shook the girl's hand away. No. I'll go instead. You've been a guide for others, and when have you not caused a lot of trouble? Forget it, I'll go myself." "Strange, isn't there a guest coming? How come I don't see any of them?" The girl pursed her lips and grunted. "That guy is really arrogant. He said something like, 'Let Old Sycamore come out to greet him personally.' He's really arrogant. I originally wanted to pour a bucket of cold water on him, but who would have thought that he would have such powerful people around him? I'm a bit afraid of 2 of them." A glint flashed in Old Sycamore's eyes. Then he slowly stood up and walked toward the door while dragging his body, saying, "Those who can make me personally greet them are all old customers, you know. But you're not afraid of perfected golden immortals, lass, yet 2 people who can make you afraid appear at the same time. This is really interesting." The girl rolled her eyes and then followed him with a grin. Outside the courtyard, Old Sycamore's eyes instantly narrowed when he saw the 4 people. His gaze paused on Star Tears for a moment before he turned to Tan Xiu, who was obviously their leader. He smilingly asked, "Honored guest, you look very unfamiliar, but you actually know me, Old Sycamore. May I know which lord recommended you to come to me?" A complicated look flashed in Tan Xiu's eyes as he lightly smiled and said, "There was once a little beggar who mentioned the little sycamore of Prison City. But I never thought that the former little sycamore would become the old sycamore now." "A little beggar?" Old Sycamore's body trembled and a sharp glint burst out from his eyes. His stooped body straightened in an instant, and a huge aura surged around him as he shouted in a deep voice, "Who exactly are you, mister? How do you know him?" Chapter 1302. "You can call me Great Tang Heavenly Emperor," said Tan Xiu calmly. "As for how I know him, it's inconvenient for me to tell you. Old Sycamore, I need to handle some matters in Prison City, so you'll be my guide. I'll reward you handsomely if you perform well." Old Sycamore stared at Tan Xiu for a full quarter of an hour before he took a deep breath. His body returned to its stooped state and he restrained his aura. Little beggar. His younger brother. He was once a rising star in the immortal world and was the focus of countless powerhouses. On the other hand, he was the disciple of Star Cultivation Great Emperor. It had been more than 5,000 years. Those who knew that he was the little beggar's big brother definitely had a good relationship with his younger brother. But those people were probably all dead now, right? "I'll be your guide." Old Sycamore retracted his gaze and waved his hand at the little girl beside him. Then, he said in a deep voice, "You must stay at home while I'm gone. If I find out that you sneak out, you'll be grounded for 100 years. The little girl hesitated for a moment and immediately became listless. She muttered a few words of dissatisfaction and then staggered back to the courtyard's entrance before slamming it shut. Old Sycamore looked at Tan Xiu and asked, Where would you like to go, honored guest? There's no place or matter in Prison City that I don't know. Tan Xiu glanced at him and turned to walk toward the convict arena's main hall. He then lightly said, "Don't boast. Even if you've lived here for thousands of years, there are still many things you don't know." Old Sycamore smiled and asked, "For example? For example, do you know who the master behind the scenes of the convict arena is?" Tan Xiu said. Old Sycamore was speechless and awkwardly turned his face to the side. Tan Xiu smiled indifferently and looked at Dragonfly, asking, "Little guy, what's his cultivation level?" "He's very strong, master. He's at least a perfected golden immortal, even more powerful than Lady Star Tears," said Dragonfly. "By the way, he's injured, but it's not too serious." Old Sycamore halted his steps and stared dumbfoundedly at Tan Xiu and Dragonfly's backs with an incredulous look in his eyes. There were no more than 3 people in the entire immortal world who knew that he was a perfected golden immortal, and this included himself. But how did he know? Just who were they? Old Sycamore faintly felt that he had no secrets to speak of in front of these people. This realization caused the string in his heart to tighten. After catching up with Tan Xiu, he asked, "Honorable guests, I still don't know what you want to buy. Or do you want to go somewhere?" Tan Xiu said, "Let's go to the prison of the perfected golden immortal level." Old Sycamore furrowed his brows and said, "Honored guest, are you preparing to gamble?" Tan Xiu said, "By a perfected golden immortal." Old Sycamore's pupils shrunk. He immediately realized that Tan Xiu was a big shot with great financial resources. After thinking for a while, he said, "If you want to buy a perfected golden immortal, you don't need to go directly to the prison. I know a place that sells perfected golden immortal powerhouses. There are only about 60 perfected golden immortal deathmatch gladiators in the entire prison city, and all of them have been registered and their identities are known by countless people. But the place I'm talking about has a confidential identity, and the number is not that many. Lead the way." After saying that, Tan Xiu asked, "How many of them are there? How strong are they? What's their background?" "No more than 10 of them, and all of them are very strong. They're not inferior to the deathmatch gladiators in the prison, said Old Sycamore. "They're all from different races, overlords of some remote immortal domains. The convict arena has a mysterious team that expands its territory in remote immortal domains, hunting or capturing golden immortals and perfected golden immortals to sell and increase the number of deathmatch gladiators in the convict arena." Tan Xiu slightly nodded. He had heard of these things before, but he didn't pay much attention to it before. He thought that the convict arena was just a small fry. But now, he was keenly aware that the convict arena was very terrifying. It could be ranked in the top 10 even among the major forces in the immortal world. Deathmatch Gate. The place Old Sycamore mentioned. After everyone entered the unremarkable building, a charming and beautiful woman came to greet them and said with a beaming smile, "Old Sycamore, have you brought a customer here to buy something again?" "Yeah," said Old Sycamore with a smile. "You know the rules, so take them inside." The beautiful woman smiled. "You'll have to bear the responsibility if anything goes wrong." "I understand." Old Sycamore nodded with a smile and led the 4 people inside. The dark corridor was a few kilometers long. After the 5 people entered, they found that it was a completely different world. It turned out to be a heavenly abode artifact. The space inside was huge, more than 100 times larger than it looked from the outside. Old Sycamore smiled and said, "Honored guest, let's go straight ahead. We'll find the place where the deathmatch gladiators are sold. Go to the left passage and you'll find the place that sells immortal arts, divine abilities, and secret arts. Go to the right passage and you'll find the place that sells all kinds of weapons." Tan Xiu's expression shifted and he asked, "Let's go to the place that sells weapons." Old Sycamore faintly smiled and led Tan Xiu through a kilometer passage and into a vast hall. Countless weapons were arranged in an orderly manner inside, and each weapon's advantages, disadvantages, and even grade were clearly marked. Defensive immortal artifacts. After going deeper, Tan Xiu quickly found the place where all kinds of defensive immortal artifacts were sold. The dazzling array of items dazzled the eyes. Immortal artifacts were divided into 9 grades. The first and second grades were suitable for ordinary immortals, the third grade was suitable for earth immortals, the fourth grade was suitable for celestial immortals, the fifth grade was suitable for profound immortals, the sixth grade was suitable for golden immortals, the seventh grade was suitable for perfected golden immortals, and the eighth grade was suitable for supremes. Ninth grade immortal artifacts. Unless one was a top-notch supremacy, they wouldn't be able to unleash their full power. Tan Xiu found the place where the 7th grade immortal artifacts were marked according to the labels and said, Battle Peng, Star Tears, each of you pick a defensive immortal artifact. Understood. The two were slightly shaken, but they still quickly picked a defensive immortal artifact that satisfied them. Tan Xiu calmly looked at the remaining 18 defensive immortal artifacts and couldn't help but shake his head inwardly. Each of these 18 defensive immortal artifacts could withstand a full-powered blow from a late-stage perfected golden immortal without being destroyed. But they would still break under continuous attacks. Old Sycamore, there should be a 9th grade immortal artifact here, right? Yes, there are only 3 9th grade defensive immortal artifacts, said Old Sycamore. They are all in the array, and each of them is extremely expensive. Even a perfected golden immortal wouldn't be able to buy one of them with all his wealth. Take me there, said Tan Xiu. Old Sycamore walked 100 steps inside and stopped in a corner. He casually made a seal and 3 transparent lights suddenly appeared with 3 items inside. Myriad-toed golden armor. Heavenly soul sphere. 9 thunder treasure robe. Tan Xiu calmly looked at the 3 9th grade immortal artifacts and turned to look at Old Sycamore. Notify the person in charge here and tell him to come see me. Understood. Old Sycamore left for less than a quarter of an hour before he returned with the charming and beautiful woman. Have you picked your items, honored guest? The beautiful woman looked at the 3 grade 9 defensive celestial artifacts, and a strange look flashed across her eyes as she asked with a smile. Tan Xiu nodded and said, There are 3 defensive immortal artifacts in total, 2 of which are 8th grade and this 9 thunder treasure robe. How much is it? The beautiful woman smiled and said, This 9 thunder treasure robe costs 20 million crystal essences. 2 8th grade defensive immortal artifacts cost 12 million crystal essences in total. That's a total of 32 million crystal essences. Old Sycamore said that you have a deep relationship with him, so he's giving you a discount of 2 million crystal essences, making it 30 million crystal essences in total. Tan Xiu took out 30 million crystal essences and handed it to the beautiful woman. Thank you. The beautiful woman shook her head and smiled. If you want to thank someone, thank Old Sycamore. Everyone, do you need anything else? I need to buy perfected golden immortal gladiators, said Tan Xiu. 6. The beautiful woman stared blankly and her expression slightly changed. She just thought that Tan Xiu was just an ordinary immortal. She didn't expect him to have such terrifying wealth. Please follow me. The beautiful woman shot a deep look at Tan Xiu before turning around and walking away. In another space, when everyone arrived, Tan Xiu saw thousands of iron cages placed on both sides, each separated by a kilometer. From ordinary cultivators to golden immortal gladiators, there were people of every level. The beautiful woman led everyone to the innermost area and struck out a seal. Suddenly, a whirlpool portal appeared in front of everyone. After entering, they saw 9 iron cages forming a circular formation, and in each iron cage was a perfected golden immortal gladiator. This price. Tan Xiu's expression slightly changed as his spiritual sense swept the price tag on the iron cages. Because even the cheapest golden immortal realm gladiator required 12 million immortal crystals, whereas a woman with disheveled blue hair that sat cross-legged on the ground required an entire 21 million immortal crystals. Tan Xiu looked at the beautiful woman and asked, Is there a discount? The beautiful woman shook her head and smiled. I'm sorry, but this is the lowest price. If you really want to buy 6 perfected golden immortal gladiators, I'll give you a discount. Tan Xiu smiled bitterly to himself. Adding up all the immortal stones, immortal crystals, and crystal essences he had, he was only left with a little over 60 million crystal essences. Some of them were obtained from the spatial rings of the 6 Zenith Heaven Golden Immortals under Zither Demon Jiuyao. Tan Xiu looked at old Sycamore and said, "Lend me 20 million crystal essences." Within 100 years, they would pay him back double. Old Sycamore hesitated for a moment before saying, "I do have 20 million crystal essences, but why should I believe you?" Tan Xiu forced a smile and said, "I don't have anything to make you believe me. But if you have a good relationship with the little beggar, I think you can lend it to me." Old Sycamore scrutinized Tan Xiu for a long time before throwing out an interspatial ring and indifferently saying, "There are 20 million crystal essences inside. I don't need you to pay me back double, but I hope you can give me an explanation in the future." Chapter 1303. Tan Xiu took a deep breath and nodded. "I promise I'll give you a satisfactory explanation in the future. Also, I, the Great Tang Heavenly Emperor, owe you a favor. If you have any requests in the future, you can come to the Great Tang Empire to look for me." Finished. Tan Xiu took out all the immortal stones, crystals, and crystal nuclei and handed them over to the beautiful woman in charge of the convict arena. Then he said, 6 perfected golden immortals, including Sable Fiend Scorpio. According to my calculations, there are 84. 6 million crystal essences in total. Even if we borrow 20 million crystal essences, we are still short by more than 600,000 crystal essences. A strange light flickered in the woman's eyes as she slowly nodded and said, "I'll waive the 600,000 crystal essences for you." Finished. She personally took out 6 soul tablets and handed them to Tan Xiu. Then she personally opened the 6 iron cages and untied each of the chains that bound the almighty immortals. Sable Fiend Scorpio, Celestial Stone Golems, Fire Fiend Lion, Golden-Eyed Great Pang, Lupus Monstrous Wolf, Nether Sea Whale King. From today onwards, the 6 of you are the slaves of this Great Tang Heavenly Emperor. I've already handed over your soul tablets to him. From now on, your lives are in his hands." The beautiful woman coldly glanced at the 6 of them and said in a deep voice. Each of the 6 deathmatch gladiators who had experienced 300 battles in the prison cage stared at Tan Xiu. Their bodies were filled with a deathly aura, and their eyes were filled with arrogance and defiance. Even if Tan Xiu controlled their lives, they were not worried that Tan Xiu would kill them since he had paid such a high price to buy them. They were afraid that he would only make them serve him. Tan Xiu refined their soul tablets and completely controlled their lives. Then he lightly said, "My orders are more important than anything else in the future. Of course, I don't mind making an example out of you. If any of you want to try, feel free to go against my will." Kill the chicken to warn the monkey? The expressions of the 6 perfected golden immortal gladiators suddenly changed. The unruly faces changed slightly. None of them wanted to die, nor did they want to become the chicken that was killed. "Old Sycamore, let's go." Tan Xiu nodded at the beautiful woman and turned to leave. Old Sycamore didn't say anything. He didn't even greet the beautiful woman as he followed Tan Xiu outside. When they arrived at the gate, he asked, "Great Tang Heavenly Emperor, where are we going next?" Tan Xiu's lips moved a few times before Battle Peng handed Tan Xiu 10 immortal crystals. After Tan Xiu received them, he personally handed them to Old Sycamore and said, "This is your reward. I hope we'll meet again in the future." Finished. He led the group into the distance. 10 immortal crystals? Old Sycamore stared blankly at the 10 immortal crystals in his hand. Memories that had been sealed away in the depths of his heart gushed out like a flood. Several thousand years ago, when he was only a child of 8 or 9 years old, he and his younger brother begged on the streets every day, hoping to get some charity and some leftovers to fill their stomachs. They were driven away, beaten, and abused like livestock. Even slave traders were unwilling to capture pitiful ant-like worms like them. However, on a certain day in a certain month of a certain year, the brothers stole 2 bright clothes, but they were discovered by the owner of the clothes and were almost beaten to death. At that moment, He vowed to stay alive and kill the person who beat him up. He wanted to kill the person who had abused them. At that time, he had even made up his mind to find a way to get a sum of money to buy a cultivation technique and become a powerful cultivator. It was also at that moment that a stalwart figure shielded them from the sun. It was his younger brother. He knelt behind the stalwart figure who had saved them and shouted the slogan, "Apprentice." In his opinion, it was something he didn't even dare to dream of. In the end, that person stopped and only asked his younger brother a few questions before agreeing to accept him as a disciple. He even wanted to take him and his younger brother away. "How long will we be gone?" He had once asked this question, and the answer he got was either 1,000 years or an eternity. He didn't leave. He couldn't wait for 1,000 years, and he didn't want to regret it forever. In the end, his younger brother was taken away by that stalwart figure, but he stayed behind. Old Sycamore still clearly remembered that before his younger brother was taken away, that stalwart figure handed him 10 immortal crystals and said something that he would never forget for the rest of his life. "This is a reward for you. I hope we'll meet again in the future." Scenes of the past happened one after another. Dripping with blood, Old Sycamore's heart unraveled. That once incomparably stalwart figure now seemed so familiar and so real. "Are you him?" Old Sycamore took a few steps forward, his face full of excitement as he shouted loudly. However, after he shouted these words, a disappointment that came from the depths of his soul occupied his entire heart, making him feel as if he had fallen into an ice cave. He knew that he had lost his composure because he was already dead, just like his younger brother. 1,000 meters away, Tan Xiu's footsteps suddenly stopped. He slowly turned around and looked at the pale-faced Old Sycamore. His lips squirmed a few times, but no words came out of his mouth in the end. Only a voice transmission lingered in Old Sycamore's ears. "I'm sorry." With that said, Tan Xiu suddenly sped up with everyone and disappeared from Old Sycamore's sight. "I'm sorry?" Old Sycamore's pupils abruptly shrank, his eyes bursting with disbelief. His figure instantly turned hazy and disappeared into thin air under the gazes of countless people. Hundreds of thousands of kilometers away, Old Sycamore had already appeared on top of a mountain peak. Looking at the empty scene around him, his heart fiercely trembled and madly palpitated. As the saying goes, old people become shrewd. He had lived for several thousand years and was already extremely wise and farsighted. It was just a single sentence of apology, just 3 words, but it shocked him to the point where it was difficult for him to recover. His younger brother was dead, even though he crazily slaughtered and killed all his enemies. But in this world, he owed one person a sentence, and that was those 3 words. In this world, only he would say those 3 words to him. Old Sycamore clenched his fists tightly, a crazed look flashing in his eyes as he fiercely roared, "I'll find you. I know you're still alive." This Old Sycamore originally thought that I had no more worries in this life, but now I know that I still have you. That's right. Even though he didn't leave with Tan Xiu back then, just like his younger brother, he still regarded that imposing figure as a true family member. He was good to his younger brother, which was also good to him. What's more, it was because of those 10 immortal crystals that he was able to buy cultivation manuals, even the most ordinary ones. It was also because of those 10 immortal crystals that he was able to buy medicinal pills, even the lowest grade ones. However, he became stronger and killed all the enemies who had bullied him and his brother. Thousands of years ago, he was able to become an immortal because his younger brother sent him miraculous pills, which eventually allowed him to ascend. Thousands of years ago, he was able to become an earth immortal because his younger brother sent him cultivation resources, which allowed him to successfully break through. Thousands of years ago, it was also his younger brother who sent him immortal elixir and immortal dew, which allowed him to break through to the celestial immortal realm. Thousands of years ago, it was also his younger brother who sent him a large number of miraculous pills, immortal crystals, and crystal essences, which allowed him to continuously improve his cultivation level, allowing him to break through to the profound immortal realm and then the golden immortal realm. And now, he was already a perfected golden immortal. Even though there were no more than 3 people in the entire immortal world who knew that he had broken through to the perfected golden immortal realm, he had already become a true powerhouse in the eyes of millions of people. Over the past several hundred years, he disappeared and reappeared again and again. And every time he disappeared, it was when the Rosefinch holy sect was besieged by powerful enemies. Every time he disappeared, he would return covered in wounds. No one knew. He was repaying a debt of gratitude. Repaying a debt of gratitude on his own behalf, and also on behalf of his younger brother. Old Sycamore's complexion suddenly changed as he keenly sensed a few extremely weak fluctuations in the air. A cold glint immediately burst out from his eyes, and a pitch-black gourd appeared in his hand. A berserk aura immediately rushed in the direction of those weak fluctuations. Come out! At the same time, a pitch-black flood crazily rushed out of the black gourd like a surging black river in the void, instantly submerging the weak fluctuations. Have mercy, we're on the same side. 3 figures dressed in black robes appeared out of thin air. They looked at the black flood in horror and screamed at the top of their lungs. The convict arena's windlistener? It seems you're here to investigate his identity. A cold glint flickered in old Sycamore's eyes. He instantly slashed out with his 7th-grade immortal sword. After the 3 people fell into the black flood, they were directly cut into pieces by the immortal sword, and even their immortal souls were directly obliterated. Immediately after, old Sycamore put away the black gourd and completely erased the traces here before his figure disappeared into thin air. Half a month later, Tan Xiu returned to Agric Castle with Battle Peng, Star Tears, Dragonfly, and the 6 perfected golden immortals he had just purchased. The current Tan Xiu was penniless and poor to the point that he couldn't even take out a single immortal stone. Whoosh, he sent out a message token. In just half an hour, the old man who sold the information to Tan Xiu appeared in front of Tan Xiu. Did you get the Soul Pursuit token, Senior? The old man looked excited as he looked at Tan Xiu and hurriedly asked. Tan Xiu slowly shook his head and said, I haven't gone to the vast martial sect yet. I went to find some people to help me in order to prevent any mishaps. Let's go. Even if the vast martial sect has a perfected golden immortal ancestor, they won't be able to protect the Soul Pursuit token this time. You can take us to the vast martial sect. The old man looked aghast and hurriedly said, Senior, even if you have a helper and a perfected golden immortal by your side, it's still impossible for you to get the Soul Pursuit token directly. If the other party goes crazy and contacts Battle Soul Supreme through the Soul Pursuit token, we'll all die. Don't worry. Tan Xiu sneered. I won't take the risk if I'm not fully prepared. As long as your information is correct, I'll definitely get the Soul Pursuit token. It's a new month, please support me with the monthly tickets. Also, in response to the strong request of our brothers and sisters, Silent Night has changed the portrait of Andy on the public account. The new portrait is guaranteed to make our brothers and sisters' blood boil. If you want to see it first, please follow the WeChat public account JS00 or directly search for Silent Night Thoughts in the subscription account. Chapter 1304. The old man looked at the 6 unfamiliar faces. He had a vague feeling that these 6 people were probably very strong. At the very least, they were all golden immortal experts. Furthermore, this mysterious man had been preparing for so long before taking action against the vast martial sect. Perhaps he was really well prepared. I'll go. The old man gritted his teeth and said in a deep voice. Tan Xiu nodded. Under the old man's lead, it took them 2 days to arrive at a small continent in this immortal domain. While looking at the pavilions in the dense mountain forest, Tan Xiu asked, Is this where the vast martial sect is located? That's right. It's here, answered the old man. While speaking, killing intent surged in his eyes. It was obvious that he was full of hatred toward the vast martial sect. Tan Xiu turned to look at Battle Peng and lightly said, You and Dragonfly stay here. I don't need to teach you what to do if something unexpected happens, right? Battle Peng glanced at the old man and nodded. Don't worry. I know what to do. Tan Xiu nodded slightly in response. His eyes then shifted to the 6 perfected golden immortals and indifferently said, "I'll give you some hope before you work for me. Serve me for 5,000 years and I'll give you your freedom as long as you're still alive. I'll welcome you to continue to follow me at that time, but you can leave directly if you don't want to. Further, I'll provide you with all kinds of cultivation resources and impart all kinds of divine abilities and secret arts to you during the 5,000 years you serve me. The greater your contribution, the more rewards you'll get. Do you understand?" "Really?" The 6 of them looked pleasantly surprised and asked in unison. "I, Great Tang Heavenly Emperor, will never fulfill my promise." Tan Xiu nodded. The 6 of them quickly exchanged glances and immediately nodded. They knelt on one knee and said in a deep voice, "We're willing to serve you." Tan Xiu took out 6 shaman artifacts and threw them to them. "I don't have any high-grade immortal artifacts to provide you for the time being. Refine these shaman artifacts and use them as your weapons for the time being." Sable Fiend Scorpio took one of the shaman artifacts and carefully observed it. Then she exclaimed in horror, "This is a shaman artifact of the Diablo Precantator clan? Oh my god!" At the very least, it was a high-grade wizard artifact used by the Diablo Precantator clan's warrior. This shaman artifact is definitely comparable to a grade 7 immortal artifact. The other 5 people also revealed shocked expressions. All of them were perfected golden immortals, old monsters who had lived for thousands of years, especially Sable Fiend Scorpio who had lived for tens of thousands of years. She could naturally identify the value of these shaman weapons. Tan Xiu said carelessly, "I have a lot of magic tools of this level." In fact, there were many sorcerer tools that were even better than these. As long as you are loyal to me wholeheartedly, not only will you become stronger in the future, but you will also possess countless resources. Sable Fiend Scorpio's group of 6 exchanged glances and said one after another, "We pledge our allegiance to him." Tan Xiu nodded with satisfaction and turned to look at Star Tears, who had a strange expression on her face. Then, he calmly said, "What you need to do this time is to help me seize the Soul Pursuit token from the vast martial sect. I'm sure you all know what the Soul Pursuit token is. I also need Battle Soul Supreme to help me with this matter in the future. Therefore, you must directly suppress this perfected golden immortal ancestor of the vast martial sect with thunderous momentum. You must not give him the time and opportunity to use the Soul Pursuit token." "Understood," everyone replied in a deep voice. A quarter of an hour later, Tan Xiu looked around. Just as he was about to take out the message token, 3 streaks of light quickly came from the distance and quickly appeared in front of Tan Xiu. Tangan, who was shrouded in a black robe, arrived with Zenith Venerable and Seaway Monarch. Then she respectfully reported, "We've destroyed all the arrays around the vast martial sect, Grand Master. They won't be able to activate the sect's protective array even if they notice a powerful enemy coming to attack them." Tan Xiu nodded with satisfaction and sneered. 9 perfected golden immortals. If you can't get the vast martial sect's Soul Pursuit token, I'm afraid it'll be the shame of your lives. Let's do it." "Understood." The 9 people nodded one after another. Immediately after, their figures moved as fast as meteors and appeared above the vast martial sect in a flash. Immediately after, the 9 of them attacked at the same time and directly knocked out all the vast martial sect's disciples below the golden immortal stage. Even the vast martial sect's golden immortals coughed up blood and looked fearful. "Which thief dares to provoke my vast martial sect?" 3 figures soared into the sky and instantly appeared in midair. The one in the lead was a white-haired old man in a plain robe. His eyes gleamed with crazy killing intent. However, when he saw the 9 perfected golden immortals around him and sensed the terrifying pressure emanating from them, his pupils suddenly shrunk and a horrified look burst out from his eyes. "Suppress them!" Tan Xiu and Tang suddenly appeared 10,000 meters away and shouted coldly. In a flash, 9 perfected golden immortals fiercely attacked one after another. Apart from the perfected golden immortal old man, the other 2 late-stage golden immortals, who were only a step away from breaking through to the perfected golden immortal stage, spurted out blood and were bombarded to the ground by Star Tears and Sable Fiend Scorpio. Although they didn't die, they still fainted. Who the hell are you? What kind of grudge do you have with my vast martial sect that you even sent 9 perfected golden immortals to destroy my sect? The white-haired old man desperately resisted, but he was still seriously injured in an instant. Give up resistance and I can spare the lives of all the people in your vast martial sect, Tan Xiu said coldly. Else, I'll exterminate all of you without sparing even the fowls and dogs. The white-haired old man roared angrily, but he still chose to give up resisting the onslaught of the 9 perfected golden immortals. As he was directly imprisoned by Star Tears, Tan Xiu floated in front of him and observed him for a while. He then grabbed his collar and quickly entered the tallest building below. This is your vast martial sect's hall of worship, isn't it? A smile appeared on the corner of Tan Xiu's mouth as he lightly asked. The white-haired old man's face was ashen as he nodded. That's right. Knock out all the golden immortals hiding in the dark, Tan Xiu said with a smile. Immediately, 4 figures disappeared into thin air. Dozens of muffled groans were heard, and the 4 quickly appeared near Tan Xiu out of thin air. Tan Xiu then looked at the old man and smilingly said, You have treasures, but you don't have the strength to preserve them. It's easy to attract disaster. Am I right? That's right. The vast martial sect's ancestor replied in a muffled voice. Tan Xiu lightly smiled and said, Since you think what I said makes sense, then take out the soul pursuit token your vast martial sect got. Don't ask me how I know that the soul pursuit token is in your sect. I have my own intelligence channels. The vast martial sect's old man let out a bitter smile and directly took out a black token from his interspatial ring. He handed it to Tan Xiu and bitterly said, This is the soul pursuit token. Tan Xiu took it in his hand and played with it for a while. Then he lightly smiled and said, That's right. This is indeed the soul pursuit token. I got 2 of them before, but I didn't expect to get the 3rd one. You're good. I can spare the lives of all the disciples of your vast martial sect since you handed over the soul pursuit token. But you should know what to say and what not to say after we leave, right? I know, said the vast martial sect's old ancestor bitterly. Tan Xiu nodded with satisfaction and said, Since you know, then I'll cut to the chase. From now on, I owe your vast martial sect a favor, so I'll leave you a communication talisman. In the future, if your vast martial sect encounters a life and death crisis, you can use this communication talisman to notify me, and I'll naturally send someone to rescue you. The vast martial sect's old ancestor stared blankly and incredulously said, You mean, I hate taking advantage of others for no reason. Tan Xiu lightly said, My means may not be honorable this time, but I have to do it for some things. I'll cut off a chance for Battle Soul Supreme to attack you, so I'll leave you a favor. Don't worry. I can help you kill even if the person you're going to deal with is a supremacy stage expert in the future. Having said that, Tan Xiu nodded to Star Tears. Star Tears undid the seal on the vast martial sect's old ancestor and indifferently said, My heavenly emperor will fulfill his promise. Do you want the vast martial sect to be annihilated and face endless pursuit? Or choose to remain silent and use this favor in the future? The choice is yours. Tan Xiu took out a healing elixir and gave it to the vast martial sect's old ancestor before he immediately left with the others. Just like that? They're leaving just like that? A look of disbelief appeared on the vast martial sect's old ancestor's face. He originally thought that he would die today, but never did he expect that the other party would only ask for the soul pursuit token and didn't even kill anyone. After a long time, he muttered to himself, Who the hell are they? Tan Xiu didn't immediately contact Battle Soul Supreme after getting the soul pursuit token. He had met Supreme Battle Soul several times in the past. He had even fought alongside Supreme Battle Soul in the Endless Abyss and killed many extraterritorial demons. But speaking of friendship, their friendship wasn't deep and could only be regarded as friendly as ordinary friends at best. Battle Soul Supreme. When he was at his peak, he was only slightly weaker than him. Therefore, Tan Xiu decided not to use the soul pursuit token unless it was absolutely necessary. It would be best to ask Battle Soul Supreme to act during the final decisive battle. Are we going back now, Grand Master? Tang Yan hurriedly asked after seeing Tan Xiao and the others return. Let's go back. There are some things we need to do. Tan Xiao nodded. Tang Yan didn't know what Tan Xiao was talking about, but she still nodded. She had received a message token from Tan Xiao, asking her to bring Seaway Monarch and Zenith Venerable here. The Misty Spring Ocean was the headquarters of the Great Tang Empire, and only Apotheon Mu and his master, Guyu, were there. You're the guardian elders of the Great Tang Empire from now on. Before returning, Tan Xiao solemnly announced to the 6 perfected golden immortals. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.